Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the ClapTech and PTech, a dialogue between the East and the West International Symposium. My name is Kimberly, and I'll be your MC for today. I'm one of the ClapTech students from Delia Memorial School Hip Hwa of Hong Kong, who just finished a 3-year journey with ClapTech from Secondary 6 this summer. I'm very happy to meet you all. We would like to take a group photo with everyone. May I now invite everyone to switch on their cameras? There's no need to be shy. This is just a photo. Has everyone turned on their cameras? You guys can turn off your cameras after the group photo. It's perfectly fine. One click and you have your camera on. We would really like for everyone to turn on their cameras so we can all take a big group photo. It doesn't matter what you look like, we just want to commemorate such an important event. We would really like for everyone to turn on their cameras. This is a one-time thing and you guys can turn off your cameras immediately after. Is everyone ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Thank you all so much. The world is changing, and so must we. In the old days, academic success was regarded as the single determining factor of student success. However, as experts like the one tuning in have found, test scores do not adequately reflect how well prepared students are for life after high school. With this in mind, the ClapTech pathway has been implemented in Hong Kong since 2020, offering students a non-traditional educational routes to better prepare them for tomorrow's workforce. Funded by the Hong Kong Jockey Club's Charity Trust, as part of the Hong Kong Jockey Club Multiple Pathways Initiative, ClapTech is a tripartite partnership among secondary schools, industry partners, and the Hong Kong Baptist University. The project aims at equipping students with valuable skills, competencies, and work ethics so that they can take on the growing number of new-collar roles that can address the industry skill gap that employers face in a fast-paced technological world. As the event theme implies, our symposium today brings together education and industry leaders from Hong Kong, Asia Pacific, Australia, and the US to share their visions on nurturing future-ready digital talents. To kick off this meaningful event, I now invite Mr. Leong to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. CHEUNG is the Executive Director of the Charities and Committee at Hong Kong Jockey Club Charity Trust. In this capacity, he is also the co-chair of the Hong Kong chapter of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. Mr. CHEUNG, please.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Hong Kong Jockey Club, I warmly welcome you to this international symposium. As one of the world's top 10 charity donors, the Hong Kong Jockey Club not only provides charity funding to address a variety of social issues, but also drives the development of needle-moving initiatives. In this regard, creating multiple pathways for a more hopeful future is one of our key strategies to support local youth development. An important project for us is Jockey Club Multiple Pathways Initiative, CLAPTEC Pathway, which supports young people's academic and career readiness through a non-conventional mode of learning within a mainstream education system. CLAPTEC blends together two tested models, CLAP at JC, created by the club's Charities Trust, and PTEC by IBM. CLAP at JC supports young people's career and life development to help them discover interests and identified potentials, while PTEC builds a pathway to develop interests and actualize potential. The co-creation was convened by the club with various stakeholders, including the Hong Kong Baptist University, IBM, and secondary schools, with a donation of 84 million Hong Kong dollars. CLAPTEC Pathway offers a unique 5-year learning journey, connecting 3 years of applied learning in secondary schools with 2 years in a higher diploma course at Baptist University. There are important features which include skill mapping based on future skills to design the curriculum, meaningful employer encounters, including eye-opening work exposure, mentorship throughout the learning journey, and internship plus first in-line job opportunities offered by industry partners. The integration of these components in such holistic, systematic, and total package design is very unique to CLAPTEC. The unique design of this school-to-work learning pathway in mainstream education has won the support of the Education Bureau, the Task Force on Promotion of Vocational and Professional Education and Training recommended in its report in 2020 that the government consider stepping up support for institutions to launch more vocational and professional education and training with reference to the CLAPTEC model. Admission to CLAPTEC is not based on grades, but informed decisions by students according to their aspirations manifested in their value, attitude, skills, and knowledge, or VASK, in the relevant track. With the success of CLAPTEC Pathway's first track in Information and Communications Technology, or ICT, a second track on Creative Technology and Innovation was launched with additional funding support of 74 million Hong Kong dollar earlier this year for students who are passionate about the creative media industry. So far, some 460 students and 12 partner secondary schools have joined CLAPTEC, with 19 industry partners and over 80 mentors, including 10 from the Jockey Club IT security team. Apart from creating an alternative pathway in the mainstream education system, CLAPTEC also offers new perspectives to parents, schools, higher educational institutes, policymakers, and employers on nurturing more future-ready generations. I'm sure you will hear more about this from other speakers. The first cohort of ICT students is now in the 3rd year of the journey. According to our findings, CLAPTEC students are more eager to learn. They also score higher in terms of life and career exploration, as well as in essential attributes demanded by employers. It is also interesting to observe from a participating school that CLAPTEC successfully challenged stereotype of girls to sign up on ICT pathway, which is traditionally for boys in that school. These results are indeed very, very encouraging. Our work in supporting future-ready youth continues. Leveraging insights from CLAPTEC pathway, we have furthered our support for Hong Kong's first-time job seekers with the launch of the Procruit-C program. This is a 1-year job landing support program, matching and training first-time job seekers with future-oriented caring professions based on their VASK. Additionally, the club has recently approved funding support for CLEPTech Pathway in special schools to bring this innovative partnership model to advance the school-to-work transition of students with special education needs and to empower them to lead more meaningful and dignified lives, or they will be left behind in the fast-changing world. All our efforts are driven by the club's purpose to act continuously for the betterment of society. Our support for these projects and for all of our other initiatives is made possible by the club's unique integrated business model, through which betting and lottery revenue are returned to the community in the form of tax payments and charitable donations. I am the most grateful for the support we receive from the Education Bureau and Hong Kong Computer Society, and my deep gratitude goes to Hong Kong Baptist University, our secondary school partners, industry partners, and mentors for making this project possible. I also wish to thank all the guest speakers and audience for joining us. Today's symposium provides an excellent opportunity for us to share CLEPTech experiences, as well as to learn from local and international counterparts. I hope you find this symposium informative and thought-provoking. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cheung. Next up, we are honored to have Dr. Daniel Yip, JP, Chairman of the Hong Kong's Steering Committee on Promotion of Vocational and Professional Education and Training and Qualifications Framework, to deliver his opening remarks. The committee provides valuable advice to the government on further promoting the development of VPET in Hong Kong through a more innovative and coordinated approach. Dr. Yip is also the managing director of GEW International Corporation Limited. He not only makes significant contributions to his business, but also actively serves the community and social affairs. Dr. Yip, please.
Good morning, everyone. It is my honor to have been invited to make some remarks at this CLEPTech and PTech International Symposium. In a typical year, we would have been gathered in a large auditorium where we can see each other. However, with COVID-19, we cannot do so. But I believe that in some ways, we are able to connect to a larger audience across sectors and geographics through this virtual format. This symposium indeed comes quite timely, as many of us seek to address the changes and challenges that our education system have been facing in recent years. When the pandemic first disrupted labor markets about 2 years ago, the short-term consequences were sudden and severe. 2 years fast forward, it is very difficult for anyone to ignore the fundamental shifts in the many aspects of what we live, we work, and play. A global study report on the future work after COVID-19 by McKinsey last year assessed the latest impact and identified 3 broad trends that would reshape our work after the pandemic recedes. Firstly, remote work and growth of e-commerce to continue. Secondly, accelerated adoption of automation and AI, particularly in work arenas with high physical proximity. And lastly, the mix of occupation will shift with low growth in low-end occupations. As we look beyond the pandemics, one thing is for sure, the pace of change will only increase. The nature of jobs also evolves more quickly. How then do we remain nimble and adaptive enough to stay ahead of all these challenges? Globally, UNESCO has recently released the new strategy for TVET, Technical and Vocational Education and Training, for the period of the year 2022 to 2029. Taking into the consideration the path to recovery, resilience building, and reimagining of education and training. This new strategy was also inspired by the International Labour Organization's Global Commissions of Future Work report, including an emphasis on new forms of work, the institutional ramification of changing nature of work, lifelong learning, greater inclusivity, and so forth. In such context, one major line of action will be to support countries to develop appropriate policies and strategies for skilling, upskilling, and reskilling through building flexible learning pathways that can enable learners to flexibly move within and across education, training, and employment. Back in Hong Kong, the government has been actively promoting the development of vocational and professional education and training, or abbreviated as VPAT, by providing flexible and diversified pathways for young people with different aspirations and abilities, with a will to sustainably nurture a skilled workforce for Industry 4.0 and the changing need of the digital economy. As shown in the last year's government's budget, various incentive and subsidy schemes are launched and expand to support individuals and the business sector in taking the ride. As chairman of the steering committee on promotion of VPAT and qualification framework, I have the pleasure to work closely with other dedicated members to synergize the government's initiative in VPAT with a more innovative and coordinated approach. Indeed, 2 years ago, CLAPTEC was cited as a reference model when the task force on VPAT published a review and recommendation report for the government on launching more VPAT learning pathways, starting from applied learning courses and providing articulation opportunities to higher diploma and taught-up degree programs, and with more support to institutions to foster close industry partnership in the course development and implementation of clearly defined articulation pathways at different levels, as well as providing exit option for students who would like to opt for immediate employment after graduation. It is exciting for me to have noticed that CLAPTEC has evolved from the offering of an IT stream of studies to an additional area in new media and communications, with a very attractive network of companies as their industry partners. One of the best things involved in the education sector is the large cross-section of young people that I get to meet. They are exposed to the world from young and IT savvy. They have broad and diverse dreams, in sharp contrast against earlier generation, where pathways were limited by circumstances. Their hopes and excitement for the future are foreseeable, but their doubts as to whether they can fulfill their potential are also real. We need to have a more encompassing education system that supports them well. Thank you, and I wish you all to have a fruitful takeaway from today's program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yip. Joining us from the U.S., please welcome Ms. Lydia Logan, Vice President of the Global Education and Workforce Development at IBM. Ms. Logan leads IBM's community skilling initiatives that create more inclusive and effective schools and workforces. She also manages strategic global partnerships with IBM's clients, nonprofit organizations, governments, and content and curriculum developers that relate to education and career readiness. Ms. Logan, please.
Good morning. I'm Lydia Logan, Vice President for Global Education and Workforce Development for Corporate Social Responsibility at IBM. Thank you so much for having me today. I know you're all here to come together to celebrate and learn about the CLAPTEC program. I want to specifically thank the Jockey Club and Hong Kong Baptist University for bringing this event together. The ICT program with CLAPTEC is growing and thriving. There are 7 partners. There are now 400 students, and the program is continuing to grow. The 4th cohort is coming on board in September, and the first cohort is going on to higher degree. All of you can play a role in the program, And I know that it changes lives. It gives students the exposure to higher education and workforce early in their careers so that they can get the training that they need and be prepared for the jobs of today and tomorrow. I'm excited for what you're going to learn and excited for the time that you'll spend together. Thank you all for coming together, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Ms. Logan. Now for our final opening remarks speaker, please welcome Professor Alexander Y., President and Vice Chancellor of HKBU. Over the years, HKBU has become a cradle of creativity, combining its strengths in creative arts and sciences, and making the university well poised to drive art tech forward. Professor Y has spared no effort in education, academia, and research. He is committed to pioneering in innovation and technology, and in translational research and making contributions to the development of Hong Kong society, the nation, and the world. Professor Y, please.
It's my great pleasure to greet you today for the exciting and thought-thinking CLAPTEC and PTEC Symposium. As the Hong Kong Jockey Club CLAPTEC pathway enters its third year, I'm delighted that this alternative learning pathway bridging school to work provides DSC students with an unconventional option to explore their own interests and develop work-ready skills for emerging technology-related careers. I'm sure today's exchange experience and ideas will be an enlightening one for you. In the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization World Higher Education Conference 2022, that's just concluded last month in Barcelona. It suggested that higher education is an integral part of the right to education and a public good, and called for transformation shift in mindsets including flexible pathways over traditionally structured ones. Flexible pathways. This is exactly where programs like CLAPTEC and PTEC come into play. HKBU is delighted to be a pioneer in Hong Kong, leading a program that not only empowers students with applied learning knowledge and skills, but also offers career options, real work experience, and professional networks. Thanks to the massive support from IBM, all industrial partners, and most distinctively, the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charities Trust as a thought leader, a role builder, and a funder. As a global university and one of the top research-led liberal arts institutions in Asia, HKBU puts a strong emphasis on the whole person education, which fosters 7 key attributes among our graduates, aligned with the 10 essential elements that CLAPTEC integrates into the program's design to prepare students for the journey ahead. Indeed, these are crucial traits not only for one to develop and climb the career ladder, but most importantly, to contribute to and thrive in the fast evolving world that requires one to think and act innovatively, sustainably, and responsibly. I'm proud to say, over the years, HKBU has become a cradle of creativity, combining its strengths in creative arts and sciences, and making the university well poised to drive art tech forward. With a newly established School of Creative Arts and a recent RGC grant of Hong Kong dollar 52.8 million for groundbreaking project, we are committed to nurturing the next generation of creative talent for Hong Kong and contribute to the city's development as a hub of creative arts for China and the world. HKBU will harness the power of science and technology to advance human and AI interaction in art creation and welcome in a new era of art tech. Through application projects, research on digital art, and policy network, HKBU will change the art world and creative industries, creating significant social, educational, and economic benefits in Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area. CLAPTEC is an example of how arts and technology converge smoothly. By concurrently implementing two tracks, creative media on the art side and information and communication technology, ICT, on the tech side. While the university designs and provides applied learning courses in tech basis and multimedia storytelling, industry partners, who are one of the tripartite collaborators, play an important role by offering real-life experience to the work environment and work culture to students. In the ICT track, selected students worked on projects under supervision of IT professionals. This 5-year journey for Hong Kong youth to get ready to enter various professions like content curators, business designers, or creative technologists, which require medium to high level skill in storytelling, creativity, technology use, and entrepreneurship. The project also makes an impactful case for scholarly work. Professor Kara Chen, Academic Director, Creative Media of CLAPTEC Center and Associate Dean of School of Communication, has been leading research projects to examine and evaluate the program design and implementation. They will give insight to policy formation to establish a model for successful and sustainable recruitment of industry partners, as well as collaboration between industry mentors, educators, and students in creating a fruitful experience of work-integrated learning. Against the backdrop of a fast advancing technological world, the convergence of arts and technology has ushered into a new era of art tech, disrupting how humans create, receive, and respond to arts and culture. I'm sure with art tech's experience and through the sharing and dialogues today by experts and stakeholders from different sectors, will inspire more collaborations among academia and industry, nurturing talents for future roles that matter to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, President Y. We will now be moving on to keynote speeches by different trailblazers in educational leadership. As university partner in the tripartite collaboration, HKBU contributes a thorough trained curriculum for CLAPTEC, supporting students' transition from secondary to tertiary education. To kick off the keynote speeches, please welcome HKBU's very own Vice President of Teaching and Learning, Dr. Albert Chow. Dr. Chow is the Vice President of Teaching and Learning of the university since 2016. He is responsible for the university's teaching and learning to achieve the best student experience, and for the nurturing of caring, creative, and ethical global citizens. He leads the development of curriculum and academic programs, quality assurance, diverse pedagogies such as experiential and virtual learning, student recruitment and placement, and globalization of teaching and learning. Dr. Chow, please.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm Albert Chow, Vice President of Teaching and Learning of the Hong Kong Baptist University. Today, I'm going to introduce the keynote speakers, and each of their speeches will be followed by a short Q&A session. We are very honored to have Professor Stanley Littao as our first speaker today. Professor Littao is from the Duke University. He previously served as president of the IBM International Foundation and as Deputy Chancellor of Schools for the City of New York. He's also the co-author of the book, Breaking Barriers: How P-TECH Schools Create a Pathway from High School to College to Career. This book tells the story of the P-TECH model, how it was originated, and how the first P-TECH was opened in Brooklyn and in the States, and in turn, now it is operated in many countries. For those of you who may not be familiar with the term, P-TECH indeed stands for Pathways in Technology, Early College, High School. Professor Littao is so kind today to stay up in the evening, in his time zone, and handle our live Q&A session. But before that, Professor Litao is going to give a speech on the development of future skills for all young people, role and evolution of P-TECH. So let's welcome Professor Litao.
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak with you today. As you know, I was very involved in the creation of the P-TECH program, which is CLAP-TECH, where you are doing it in your own country. This is a very innovative and important education reform effort. It was begun about 12 years ago. And it was begun because there were major changes that were taking place in the workplace, in the economy. More and more of the jobs that are growing and are competitive in terms of higher wages require higher levels of education, higher level of skill, and young people getting a better understanding of important workplace skills. This was happening in the United States and escalating, growing more prevalent across the country. So we came up with an idea to combine high school and college in an integrated, innovative program that would eliminate the barrier between a student completing their high school degree and their college degree, and also to connect it directly to the workplace to involve employers. At that point, I was vice president for corporate citizenship and president of the IBM Foundation, and IBM, through their strong involvement of their chief executive officer, wanted to be involved in the first pilot school in New York City. With the support of the mayor of New York and all of the education leaders, we came to agreement to restructure education along the P-TECH, or what you would characterize as CLAP-TECH model. And the initial school opened in the fall of 2011, 11 years ago. The students who were in the program were not handpicked based upon high academics. They were students just like any other student in the city of New York, who some had low academic performance, some had serious economic challenges, some had family difficulties, but they all came into the P-TECH program. It was clear very early on that because students had access to mentors, the support of a business like IBM, the engagement of higher education and college leaders in the city, it was clear that the students who had not been performing very well began to perform extremely well. And the success of the program led to a number of people saying, why should we limit this to one school? Can't we start other schools like this in other areas across the United States? The mayor of Chicago strongly urged that schools should be open in his city, another major city in the United States. And then quickly following that, governors, the heads of education and all public service in their states also came forward and said they wanted programs across their state. So P-TECH began to come from one school to several schools to dozens of schools. And the president of the United States at that point, Barack Obama, took the opportunity in his major address of the year, called the State of the Union Address, to highlight only one education initiative across the United States as something that everyone should focus their attention on, and that was P-TECH. When it was strongly urged by the president, a number of people began to say, well, this should be growing in more states, in more cities, in more locations across the United States. And very quickly thereafter, the president said, I want to visit the school. So he came to the initial school in Brooklyn. He was covered on television, video, and it had a viral social media attention where the attention for PTEC began to grow. In one of the major news magazines in the United States, Time magazine, they put it on the cover. And now people began to say, I want PTEC schools in my community. I want them in my state. I want them in my city. And now it began to grow, not just as a program in several schools, but a movement across the United States. Quickly thereafter, heads of state in other countries began to say, I want PTEC in my country. The Prime Minister of Australia was coming to meet with the President of the United States, and he asked to visit the same school that President Obama visited. And I took him to that school. And after the visit, he said, I want this to grow across Australia. And the same was true of other heads of states in countries like France and Ireland and Italy, across Latin America, began to grow in Asian geographies as well. So now, 11 years after the first school opened, there are over 300 PTEC schools across 28 countries. In the United States, a third of all states are now either operating PTEC programs or planning to operate PTEC programs. And now we have seen this movement grow to the point where one state, a very large one in the United States, California, in their budget just approved $1.5 billion for increasing pathways from school to college to career, which is exactly what PTEC represents, a pathway from school to college to career. Now, this innovation, for it to grow, cannot have barriers that stand in the way of seeing the program expand. That's why in the recent book that I wrote called Breaking Barriers, I demonstrated that in the construct of PTEC, all of the barriers that might prevent it from growing to other countries across the United States and being made available to more students are eliminated in the design of the program. It's very important that business be involved, providing internships for the students. So students have an opportunity while they're learning their education to understand how to incorporate workplace skills into their learning opportunity. Students also have an opportunity to have structured workplace visits where they can visit a workplace, see from the people who are doing the work why learning certain skills is critically important to you while you're going to move from your school to college to career pathway. It is also important that the courses be directly connected so students will achieve in their college courses at higher levels than they might have had they not have access to this program. An independent evaluation done by one of the most prestigious independent evaluation education organizations in the United States, called MDRC, studied the PTEC program, and they came to the conclusion that PTEC students, or as you would call it, CLAPTEC students, are 30% more likely to take and pass their college courses than students who do not have this opportunity. So it demonstrates in the research, in a state like New York, the college completion rates are 400% higher than the national average. In a recent news story in the most prestigious newspaper in the United States, the New York Times, it highlighted a P-TECH student who, with the training and support that she had received, was now working in cybersecurity at IBM and earning in excess of $100,000 a year. It is very important that students get their college degree because research demonstrates that students with a college degree will earn over their lifetime about $1 million more than students who do not have this opportunity. One of the things that I thought very, very important in the book that I wrote, Breaking Barriers, was to tell the story of the success of P-TECH or CLAP-TECH, not through data, which is very important, or the story of the creation of the program, which is also very important, but through the individual stories of individual students. So in this book, I spent a lot of time talking about individual students. Oscar Tendilla was more than 2 years behind before he got into the P-TECH program. Nobody thought he would even complete his high school degree. Oscar was able to complete the entire program in less than 4 years, was able to get a full scholarship to one of the most prestigious colleges in the United States, Cornell University, and now has his graduate degree and is able to work as an education leader across the United States. Shudan Brown, another P-TECH student, struggling economically in her community, completed her degree program, her bachelor's degree, her master's degree, is working at IBM and pursuing her PhD, her doctorate program in computer science. Another example, a young man named Jose, who came to Colorado not speaking a word of English, an immigrant from Mexico, again, more than 2 years behind when he got into the program, completes the program in 4 years, and then gets a full scholarship to Harvard University, where he is now studying for his degree in electromechanical engineering. So the story of the success of P-TECH or CLAP-TECH is told very well through the individual stories of individual students. So this innovation is providing a bright future for more and more students all around the world. It is providing skilled workers who go into the workplace, who make our economies in communities across the United States and around the world more successful. And it is eliminating the need for a lot of social services programs because of student success. So now the question is, where does P-TECH or CLAP-TECH go based upon this initial success? The success that every student will have will help the program grow. Study hard, learn well, and make the transition from school to college to career. And the success stories told by evaluators, educators, and business leaders will lead to the expansion of this program into a movement that will make P-TECH or CLAP-TECH not an opportunity for some students, but an opportunity for all students. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity today to speak to you about this program. And I look forward to continuing to tell the story of student success in the CLAP-TECH program, in the P-TECH program, and making this movement a movement of success for all students, not just in some locations, not just in cities, not just in some countries, not just in some states, but an opportunity that will lead to success for any student, regardless of their income, where they live, what success their family has had. This is a movement that can change the world. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak with you today. And I look forward to telling the story of your success as CLAPTEC goes forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Litao, for giving us such a exciting speech. Okay, we are so pleased to hear the success of PTEC and all the students involved. We feel very fortunate to be part of it. Now, while we are waiting for questions in our Q&A box, I just want to raise a question just to explore further with you. Now, in your speech, as well as in your book, breaking barriers is a very important theme, okay? And you are taking the PTEC program in various forms to different countries. So I just wondered if you can share one more story about taking PTEC outside of the States and make it a success because of the program design.
Well, the program design is successful, I believe, because the barriers have been removed in the design of the program. The core elements of the program are critically important, that a student have an opportunity to proceed a pathway from school to college with clear benchmarks along the way, that they have the support of industry leaders through mentoring, through paid internships, structured workplace visits, and workplace skills are not separate from learning. They're integrated into the learning concept. Now, as the program gets implemented in different countries, there are different structural issues in different countries. So for example, in Australia, the post-secondary degree program is a one-year program, where in the United States, it's a two-year program. So you have to be flexible enough to bend and adapt to the locality's structural differences, but maintain the core elements of success. And that allows the success to break the barriers in allowing a program like PTEC or CLAPTEC to go from examples of success to a scalable reform and a sustainable reform. So in Hong Kong, it doesn't need to serve students in a few schools. It can ultimately become something that serves students in many schools.
Well, I think what you just described is a very succinct summary of future skills that our younger generation need: flexibility, scalability, sustainability, while keeping the major theme, the major goal intact, fitting into different contexts. All these are very, very important skills that we are trying to cultivate. And PTEC is a very lively example of doing so. It seems like we don't have another question from the Q&A. Perhaps at this point, I would like to thank Professor Litao for joining us live despite the time zone again. And thank you so very much. We look forward to talking to you further in future and learning from your experience. Okay.
Thank you, and I look forward to hearing more of your success as the days go by. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. You have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's welcome our next speaker, Ms. Lydia Logan. You have already heard from her in the opening remarks. Ms. Logan is the Vice President of Global Education and Workforce Development in the IBM. So let's welcome Lydia again.
Thank you for having me with you today at this wonderful event. At IBM, we are committed to investing in the future of work, making sure we provide free education on disruptive technologies with a focus on underrepresented communities. Our aim is to close the global skills gap, as underrepresented communities are the most impacted by the digital divide, and they represent a huge prospective talent pool. This commitment to education and investing in skilling people, especially in STEM careers, goes back to the 1940s, when IBM collaborated with Columbia University in New York City to create a curriculum of computer science. Late last year, IBM pledged to skill 30 million people by 2030 worldwide, particularly those from historically underserved and under-resourced communities in the tech sector. In 2021 alone, we reached 3.5 million learners with our education initiatives. This commitment builds on the company's legacy of expanding career pathways and hiring skilled and diverse talent. There are thousands of jobs going unfilled in the market right now due to a lack of qualified professionals. According to the World Economic Forum, closing the skills gap globally could add $11.5 trillion to the global GDP by 2028, but only if education and training systems can keep pace with market demands. Companies estimate that around 40% of workers will require reskilling, and 94% of business leaders report that they expect employees to pick up new skills on the job, a sharp increase from 65% just 3 years ago. Small and medium-sized companies feel this shortage more acutely. It impedes their ability and the ability of all companies to grow and to innovate. The skills gap is greater when it comes to STEM-related careers. The talent shortage in the US has more than tripled over the last 10 years. In 2020, the Manpower Group surveyed employers, and 69% said they were struggling to fill skilled positions. 10 years earlier, that number was just 14%. The situation is even worse in the tech sector. By September 2021, there were more than 1.2 million unfilled jobs in the US for software-related professions, according to the National Foundation for American Policy. The skills gap affects nearly all sectors, not just pure tech companies. STEM knowledge is needed for many job roles. One of the greatest challenges facing society today is economic inequality. The skills shortage is particularly affecting those who may not have the resources to properly train for STEM careers. That's why IBM's global education efforts are focused on education equity and workforce diversity. We partner with key stakeholders in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors, providing IBM expertise in technology, along with a commitment to help students and aspiring professionals at scale, to ensure that all learners can participate in the modern workforce. IBM believes that organizations should invest in the future of work with an inclusive and comprehensive approach to reskill and upskill people for entry-level and mid-career roles. Therefore, we promote education programs that address the future of the workforce, intermediate workforce needs, and current workforce needs. I'll talk a little bit about each program and where they fit into this strategy. Our programs addressing future workforce needs are IBM Skills Build and P-Tech. Both help prepare high school students to be productive and informed participants in the workforce. As you've heard today, the P-Tech model was designed in collaboration with educators and the private sector to address the high-tech skills gap. The program has expanded from one school in 2011 to over 300 schools globally today. Another way we're addressing the future workforce needs is through IBM Skills Build. To connect education with career readiness, IBM created Skills Build for students. We offer free learning journeys to teens through engaging interactive curricula online that instills technical and professional workplace skills through videos, coursework, gamified assessments, and badge credentials. Teachers also have access to activities and lesson plans. Subjects include cloud computing, cybersecurity, resume writing, collaboration, design and presentation, time management, and much more. IBM also has education programs to address intermediate workforce needs, which are technical skills for people aspiring to both tech and non-technical job roles. IBM's university programs sit at the intersection of academia and industry. IBM is providing its technology, supporting research, and creating assets to advance relevant skills for today's workforce. To date, we have 900,000 participating students across 10,000 universities, offering over 334 specialized academic courses. Additionally, IBM offers upskilling to address current workforce needs, empowering professionals already in the labor market to become better qualified to secure jobs that require technology. IBM Skills Build for Job Seekers is a free digital training program that helps adults develop valuable new skills and find jobs, regardless of their background or education. IBM Skills Build offers more than 1,000 courses on workplace skills like collaboration and presentation, and more technical skills like data analytics, cybersecurity, AI, and cloud computing. Thousands more courses are available for free to learners who register for Skills Build through local partners such as economic development and vocational skills training, and job placement organizations. Our goal is to reskill or upskill learners, particularly from under-resourced backgrounds, and to make them job ready within 6 months. The program provides diagnostics, online coursework, resume building, credentials, one-to-one coaching for mentors, project-based learning, and virtual job fairs. It also connects job seekers with not-for-profits that help them identify local career opportunities. What are the elements that make an education model like CLAPTEC successful? I think we can see that the ecosystem is vital. But first, let's take a step back and examine what the problem is that we're trying to solve with these programs. As I mentioned earlier, there's a skills mismatch between the skills that people have and the skills that employers need today and tomorrow. In some countries, people cite low numbers of STEM degrees being awarded, particularly among communities that are underrepresented in technology. But there's an underlying driving factor, the credentials dilemma. Today, there is simply no comprehensive system in place that enables job seekers and employers to share and validate credentials that people have earned outside the traditional academic institutions. This lack of a shared system makes it difficult for companies to weigh credentials equally with degrees during the hiring process. As a result, many qualified candidates are being overlooked or dismissed. How can we solve this problem? The first step is to see beyond the old paradigm of degrees versus credentials and to adopt a skills-first approach in hiring. Historically, companies have hired candidates based on their four-year degrees, but the future of work is skills-based and will require acceptance of a greater variety of academic and professional credentials to get people employed and keep companies competitive. Many companies are talking about skills-first hiring, but aren't actually implementing skills-first policies or practices. What's needed is a new system where credentials are portable, verifiable, accessible to all, weighed equally with degrees, and are recognized across the market. This is where the ecosystem has a vital role to play. At IBM, we're addressing the credentials dilemma and investing in the future of work with an end-to-end approach, including the education programs I just talked about. We're providing training internally and externally, issuing credentials, and offering access to employment. In addition to the programs I mentioned, IBM offers a paid STEM apprenticeship program. We also reduced the percentage of US job postings that require a four-year degree to 50%. This has resulted in a more diverse group of candidates, and that's something we're really excited about. The second step is to address the credentials dilemma that hinges on the ecosystem. We need to create strong partnerships across private companies, the public sector, and academia, because no single employer or training provider can solve this credentials dilemma on their own. This is why we're all here today talking about P-TECH and CLAPTEC. We're excited to see the momentum of P-TECH, which you know as CLAPTEC, as an open source model that's growing throughout through the participation of industry partners, academia, and local governments throughout Asia. The underlying premise of an open source model like PTech is that it should be free and accessible for all to use and benefit from, not held by any single organization. The commitment to keep PTech as an open source model is responsible for the program's evolution and growth to a worldwide movement over the past few years. Local programs have benefited from partner support like we see here from the Jockey Club and Hong Kong Baptist University. And stories about the program have resulted and resonated with stories in the media. Long-term, the private, public, and nonprofit sectors need to expand the talent pool through programs like CLAPTech. I know that's why you're all here at this important event. I hope you will leave here with energy and inspiration to go out and expand opportunities for promising young people who are counting on us to prepare them to be valuable contributors to business and society. Thank you for all that you do. Let's go and create something that changes everything.
Okay, thank you so much, Lydia, for explaining the PTech model to us. The industry partners are always a very important part in young people's education. And it is so pleasing to see that IBM is using its global presence to push the PTech model forward. Lydia is not able to join our Q&A session today due to a prior commitment. So we will just go straight forward to our next speaker, Professor Ronald Zhong, my colleague at the Hong Kong Baptist University. Professor Zhong is Dean of Continuing Education at Hong Kong Baptist University, as well as the Academic Director of the CLAPTech Center. Before joining BU, Ronald was the Deputy Executive Director of the Vocational Training Council. He is indeed an expert in Hong Kong's vocational and professional education and training. So let's welcome Ronald.
Thank you, Albert. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to have a part to play in this inaugural CLAPTech International Symposium. The School of Continuing Education, or SCE of Hong Kong Baptist University, is proud to have been one of the main movers behind the introduction of the CLAPTech education to Hong Kong. In late 2019, SCE, together with the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charity Trust, 5 participating secondary schools, and 3 industry partners, designed and introduced a CLAPTech learning pathway for IT education in Hong Kong. This is actually a new paradigm of education that aims at addressing where the existing academic-oriented education system in Hong Kong cannot fulfill at this juncture. The rationale of the CLAPTech pathway is that young people are of multiple talents. Some fit for lecture hall type of learning, some who are equally talented not. A learning pathway other than traditional academic education would well suit the latter. In addition, practical hands-on industry training could start earlier in secondary school and could continue at the post-secondary level in a sub-degree program. Unlike other countries where a special type of secondary school can be established to teach an applied curriculum followed by articulation to a higher education level in a community college and so on, the secondary education system in Hong Kong at large has to adhere to teaching the Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education Examination, Hong Kong DSE for short, which makes it difficult to incorporate such a model into the traditional curriculum. Hence, to embed the CLAPTech learning pathway within the Hong Kong education system, we created and applied a learning course called Tech Basics as an elective for interested students in secondary 4 to 6 within the Hong Kong DSE curriculum, so that students could begin the process of industry training while still in secondary school. This is followed by students enrolling in a 2-year work-oriented higher diploma in data science program at SCE and Hong Kong BU, to complete the CLAPTEC education in IT. They then become the CLAPTEC graduates. The curriculum of the Applied Learning Tech Basics and the High Diploma were a collaboration or partnership among the secondary schools, the university, and industry. The industry has provided significant input to ensure that practical skills and knowledge are incorporated into the curriculum, so the CLAPTEC graduates can be job ready by the time they graduate. The CLAPTEC learning pathway extends beyond secondary school into a high diploma because quite a number of positions in the future require more than a secondary school education, but does not necessarily demand a full degree qualification. The CLAPTEC pathway also allows students to further the study by articulating to IT-related undergraduate degrees should they wish to. This is how the presentation will go within the coming 10 minutes or so. Let me go into a little more detail on how we carry out the design of the curriculum for the first CLAPTEC learning pathway. There were a number of considerations in shaping the distinct features of the curriculum. The first element was the university's philosophy of education. Here, SCE strived to adhere to the university's mission on committing to academic excellence in teaching, research, and service, and to the development of the whole person. In addition to quality education and whole person development, SCE also stressed academic articulation and professional advancement, which happen to be also two important goals of the CLAPTEC pathway. In the university's mission statements, whole person development is stressed very strongly. The university has codified what it means by 7 graduate attributes that all graduates should pursue, including those in the CLAPTEC pathway. The 7 graduate attributes are citizenship, knowledge, learning, skills, creativity, communication, and teamwork. Each Hong Kong BU graduate should be well versed in his or her academic specialty and possess a broad range of cultural and general knowledge such as IT, numerical and problem-solving skills, and so on. He or she should be a responsible citizen with an international outlook and strong ethical sense, as well as an independent lifelong learner with an open mind and inquiring spirit. The person should be able to think critically and creatively, communicate clearly with trilingual and biliterate competence, including both English and Chinese, and be ready to serve and work in teams while pursuing a healthy lifestyle. Setting the 7 graduate attributes as the overarching goals of the CLAPTEC pathway has many implications for curriculum design. Firstly, the need to teach skills and communication and teamwork means that specific topics need to be incorporated to teach a range of soft skills that can be used in later life. In the Applied Learning Tech Basic course, one specific module teaches collaboration, leadership, and effective communication. The High Diploma in Data Science contains 2 modules that teach communication in English, 1 module that teach Chinese, and another module that teach personal growth and development. To support the teaching of citizenship, ethical knowledge is extremely important, and that's why there's a module called IT professionalism in the High Diploma program. Specific ethical issues will also be taught throughout the programs whenever the topics call for it. To foster learning, creativity, communication, and teamwork, a variety of practical individual and group activities and assignments have been designed and that require innovative and imaginative thinking rather than examination-oriented studying. The second element of the curriculum development process is defining the purposes, goals, and outcomes of the CLAPTEC learning pathway. Here, the objective of the pathway is quite clear. We do not want to replicate any of the traditional pathway already available at universities and community colleges in Hong Kong. We also do not want to replicate the vocationally oriented pathways that are already there at the vocational colleges. We want to approach to learning catering to those students who desire a study route other than under the traditional academic setting. Some students prefer practical hands-on learning to sitting in the lecture halls. The goal and purpose of the CLAPTEC pathway is to give these students the experiential form of learning they need to be able to contribute the talents to the industry, while at the same time maintaining a sufficient amount of academic vigor for them to pursue higher levels of education, such as a bachelor degree. It's the philosophy of CLAPTEC education that such industry-oriented learning should start earlier in senior secondary school and continue at the post-secondary level to a higher diploma. Students should be fully equipped to work in the industry after graduation, while more academically inclined students should be able to continue their studies should they so wish. The process of design is the third element of the curriculum design. This process is especially interesting in the CLAPTEC learning pathway because there's so many stakeholders involved in advising on the curriculum. There are vigorous quality assurance procedures within the university. There are the CLAPTEC education philosophy, as well as views from the project stakeholders, including the secondary schools, industry leaders, and the project sponsor, Hong Kong JC Charity Trust. As for the applied learning course, which is operated under the Education Bureau of Hong Kong, the curriculum has to be approved by the Bureau as well. We set out to find a room where all the necessary procedures, key views, and wishes were addressed. At the end, we identified a curriculum for the Applied Learning Tech Basics and the Higher Diploma in Data Science program, which placed an emphasis on developing practical knowledge in what was considered the three main IT growth areas of the future, and they are artificial intelligence, data analytics, and cybersecurity. As said, the curriculum design ought to acquire the blessing of the university, which has its own academic requirements, while meeting the CLAPTEC philosophy and to a large extent addressing the views of the various project stakeholders. The curriculum design of the learning pathway from applied learning to the higher diploma in data science involved numerous back and forth exchanges between the different stakeholders, which was challenging but rewarding because the end product contained both academic vigor and the practical know-how. The fourth step in the curriculum design process is the sequencing of activities, which is about how different elements of teaching and learning are incorporated into the curriculum at the right time. It is, of course, about putting the modules in the right order in the applied learning course and high diploma. Naturally, the modules are arranged in sequence from the more fundamental to the more advanced modules. Generic soft skills modules are interspersed with technical IT modules to give students a variety of topics each semester. In the later semesters, when specialization modules in artificial intelligence, data analytics, and cybersecurity are taught, they are mixed together so that students can develop their expertise in all three areas simultaneously. Students are expected to showcase their area of expertise through the capstone course, which requires students to integrate, apply, and extend the material they've learned in the program. In the CLAPTEC learning pathway, examinations are not the main focus of the modules. Many modules eschew examinations altogether in favor of coursework, and it is in many cases better to learn and assess by doing instead of by examining. Hence, for the more advanced courses, many of the assessments are in the form of individual or group projects, programming assignments, case studies, research projects, presentations, and so on. The teaching of many modules are done more interactively through the use of lab demonstrations, case studies, presentation of industry practices, class discussion, practice exercises, and so on. The aim is to introduce as many elements of hands-on learning as possible and avoid rote lectures. A unique feature that ties the CLAPTEC pathway to the industry is the central role of mentorships and internships throughout the pathway, from the applied learning course to the higher diploma program. The mentorship program begins in the applied learning course and continues in the higher diploma program. Internship opportunities, which add further real-life experience to the career development of students, are also available. One of the best benefits of being a student in the CapTech learning pathway is that students will be first in line to be considered for jobs offered by the participating industry partners. Hence, CapTech graduates will be in an advantageous position to compete for entry-level positions in the IT industries. The fifth and the final step in the curriculum design process is to adjust and update the curriculum from time to time to keep it relevant for its purpose. This is especially essential in the field of IT, where technology and applications change very quickly over time. There are mechanisms for reviewing the curriculum of the CapTech IT pathway so as to keep it up to date. One is the annual review by the expert panel and advisory committee. The panel and advisory committee comprising members from the industry and various sectors gauge the quality of the program and give advice on its development and future direction. The other key review process is the periodic program validation review, which is conducted by an academic consultation panel as a requirement of the university. This is a review of the academic quality of the program. It covers not only the curriculum, but all aspects of teaching, learning, assessment, and support services. The goal of this review is to evaluate how well the program is running and find ways to improve its academic quality. Furthermore, during the year-to-year running of the program, there are a number of quality assurance processes, such as obtaining students' feedback on aspects of teaching and learning, facilities and student support services, and so on. The feedback comes in different forms. Like I said, there is the end of the semester course evaluations by the students. There's also survey over graduates on the overall satisfaction within the entire program and the next stage of progression in the education or career development. All these feedback mechanisms are specifically put in place to ensure that the program is meeting its goals, adjusting to needs of its industry, and is able to provide improved quality over time. I hope I have provided a useful overview of the unique features of the CapTech learning pathway, particularly in the area of curriculum development. I strongly believe that the CapTech approach will be a key pinnacle of the Hong Kong education system in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron, for telling us how we design, how we monitor, how we continuously improve the curriculum of CapTech at HKBU. Now we have a question in the Q&A box. Students are very concerned about the recognizability of the courses of the PTech. During your speech, you mentioned that students will get internships from IBM or other industry partners. So can you tell us a bit more how the industry is receiving or accepting the qualification of PTech?
Thank you, Albert. Well, for one thing, the curriculum was actually, in a way, taking a lot of views of the industry leaders, okay? That's why we have this focus on AI, cybersecurity, and data analytics. These are not just the words of the university people, but also the words of the industry leaders. So the curriculum has been well monitored and steered by the industry leaders. Of course, with fundamentals and also some of the cutting-edge technologies covered by the university instructors and so on. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is the industry leaders actually make a promise that the CapTech graduate will be the first in line to be in the interview process when there is employment opportunities. There's another recognition from the industry. Also, all these CapTech graduates come out from the training, not just without any particular recognition. They do have the award from the university. Okay, it will be the Hong Kong DSC award, applied learning. There will also be the higher diploma award from the university. All these are all important credentials to make them marketable in their future career. You know.
Okay, thank you, Ron. So I hope students and teachers in this conference rest assured that the employability, the future of students coming out of the PTech program or the CapTech program is actually very, very good.
They would have a bright future.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
Okay.
So let's just go to our last speaker of the day. Again, a colleague of mine from Hong Kong Baptist University, Professor Victor Wong. Victor is the program director of the Bachelor of Social Work program at Hong Kong Baptist University. He is also the principal investigator of a research project on the workplace well-being of young adult social workers. The project is funded by the Research Grant Council. So Victor is going to speak to us on enhancing youth career engagement today. So let's welcome Professor Victor Wong.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to attend this presentation on the topic of enhancing youth career development. I'm going to present to you 4 levers for enhancing youth career development as a whole, namely, expanding the notion of work, expanding the notion of career, expanding the sources of recognition, and empowering youth to aspire to achieve aspirations. Conventionally, when we talk about work, we only take it as pay work only. The E-Now model expands the notion of work and work experience to cover a wider spectrum of paid and unpaid work activities situated in different formal and informal settings. Altogether, there are 6 forms of work experience, namely employment and entrepreneurship, work trials and trial one business, vocational education and training and work exposure programs, voluntary work in organizational settings, domestic neighborhood provisioning, and serious leisure. By mapping out the complex dynamics of formal and informal work experience, we as career practitioners could make sense of the potentials of a diversity of paid and unpaid forms of work. This E-Now table could help us to strategically evaluate what forms of work experience can be effectively provided in our service in a dynamic manner and how young people can be engaged in their career learning journey. For example, as an experiential learning approach, how can we connect a teenage mother's parenting work and her leisure pursuits, such as DIY handicraft, to the pathways of career development? There are several key elements in the E-Now model. First, we underscore the importance of making efforts to discern the areas of life space in paid and unpaid work, and life theaters in school, home, work, and community. Second, we work against imposing the unproductive label on some types of informal economic activities, such as unpaid domestic work. Third, leisure has traditionally been regarded as non-work or something done after work. But in the context of career service, serious leisure being transformed into a kind of work experience helps young people to discover and develop their potential interests and aspirations. The emphasis placed on participation in both paid and unpaid work is conceptualized as a both-and practice, which is central to achieving social inclusion for young people. The E-Now model encourages learners to consider their careers across the whole spectrum of career possibilities and not just paid work alone. We are particularly interested in how the values, attitudes, skills, and knowledge, that is VSK, developed in one activity can be transferred to another domain of life. Taking hiking as an example, we must equip ourselves with relevant domain-specific knowledge and skills in order to cope with higher level of hiking endeavors, but also with transferable skills and knowledge, such as making good planning in advance. Other than domain-specific and transferable skills and knowledge, it is through engaging in hiking activities that we have learned to be more observant and discerning of the environment, physical, environmental, and ecological. We may become more inclined to offer helping hands not only to our hiking peers, but also to strangers who are in need. What underpins attitudes are usually values that we hold dear to, for example, ecological preservation and environmental protection. which have implications for our eco-friendly practice in our different domains of life, either informal or informal work setting. Overall speaking, skills and knowledge usually go in a pair, which are concerned about know-how and know-what, which may be either domain-specific or transferable. For example, knowledge of different kinds of coffee and their sources are domain-specific, whereas learning how to learn and develop skills to Google relevant skills and knowledge and develop ungoogleable skills and knowledge are considered transferable, which can be applied to other domains of learning and working activities. Whereas attitudes and values are seemingly more abstract, yet more transferable, transformative, or even transcendent in nature. For example, if you are eco-friendly, even though you do not work in recycling industries, you may still be eager to advocate eco-friendly measures and put your eco-friendly values and attitudes into practice, not only in formal workplaces, but also in other informal settings. If work is to be unpacked or expanded into both paid and unpaid work, there is no reason why the notion of career cannot be expanded along the same logic. That is, other than considering career being equivalent to vocational career characterized by decent work with security and prospect, we can expand career into vocational career, learning career, and leisure career. Learning career is not only concerned about pursuing lifelong learning across one's entire life, but it's also considered as a common factor of vocational career and leisure career. It is for ongoing learning and reflection on an individual, group, or collective basis that the expanded notion of career can be put into practice. In addition to lifelong learning, we adults and young people are most encouraged to step out our comfort zone into the growth zone in order to be engaged in life-wide learning so as to appreciate diversity, differences, and other cultures in the global village. Lifelong and life-wide learning not only pursued for the sake of individual survival and development, but also for addressing ecological concerns and sustainability of the blue planet, which takes the sustainable development of human beings, non-human beings, and non-beings as a whole. Through facilitating young people to review their lifelong and life-wide learning experiences, they may be able to acquire a sense of life-deep learning in the career and life journey. Axel Honneth, a German social theorist, proposed the 3 forms of social recognition: love, social respect, and social esteem. Specifically, love refers to care and support from others. Social respect refers to the rights of being treated as an independent and capable person to take part in civil society and societal decisions. And social esteem denotes the recognition of one's contribution to the community based on one's unique skills and qualities. According to Honneth, the social recognition enjoyed by individuals are associated with their formulation of self-concepts, which denotes how people feel, perceive, think, and evaluate themselves. Being loved will lead to self-confidence. Being respected will foster self-respect. And being esteemed as a valued person will enhance self-esteem. Regarding love, it is important to cultivate a sense of self-liking and self-care among young people, and to promote caring adult-youth relationship or partnership. Regarding respect, it is important to respect the informed decision-making of young people and promote their access to inclusionary and voluntary participation. Regarding esteem, it is important to acknowledge diverse contribution of youth in terms of paid and unpaid work endeavors and provide them resources, opportunities, and networks for exposures, reviews, and consolidation of learning experiences. To expand the sources of recognition, let me introduce some basic yet critical ideas conducive to developing an intersubjective approach to designing and delivering career support services. That is, more knowledgeable others, zone of proximal development, more enabling others, and zone of aspired development. The term MKO refers to those older adults, mentors, or peers who are more knowledgeable, capable, and experienced than individual learners in a certain area of interest, trade, or industry. With support from MKO, young people will be able to develop new skills for problem solving in a faster manner than they were on their own. When the learners become more competent along with growing experience, they can finish more tasks on their own without involving the MKO. In accordance to Vygotsky's definition, zone of proximal development refers to the distance between the actual development level as determined by independent problem solving and the level of potential development as determined through problem solving under guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers. Unlike MKO counterparts, MEO are not necessarily more knowledgeable than youth in a certain area of interest or trade, such as music or bakery. MEO are instead of committed to facilitating young people to build up their aspirations, providing useful information for their informed career decision-making, and or bridging them up with more resources, opportunities, and networks for pursuing their preferred career pathway. ZAD refers to the move of young people from the ZPD to another zone in which young people with aspirations are able to navigate the career pathway ahead in spite of anticipating or confronting risks and uncertainties. In the ZAD with growing adventures and aspirations, young people are keen on building up aspirations and taking up future-informed actions to develop capabilities to realize their aspirations by proactively seeking and making good use of resources, opportunities, and networks. Career interventions are to facilitate youth transition from the ZPD to ZAD by involving the participation of more enabling others and more knowledgeable others. Social recognition. Youth are being recognized by MKO and MEO. Other than paid work, trial work, and VET, volunteering, provisioning, and serious leisure are also acknowledged. Recognition of skills and knowledge through fake description or fakening. Recognition of underlying values and attitudes through self-recognition or reviewing with others. Social recognition, youth show recognition to others. Make voluntary contribution to people in need or to ecology at large. Capability approach shifts the conventional emphasis from merely perceiving people as atomic economic entities to a view that economic growth aims to facilitate the freedom enjoyed by people to live the kind of lives they have reasons to value and aspire for. Capabilities refer to what people will be able to do given that opportunities are available. To enhance youth capabilities to aspire and to achieve aspirations, career practitioners should pay attention to the following interlocking dimensions of career interventions targeted at youth: exercise of youth agency, cultivation of growth mindset, examination of relational and social context, engagement of multiple stakeholders, promotion of ecosystem change. As shown in this figure, career practitioners can provide the four domains of experience-driven career interventions, namely recognition, exposures, self-growth, and transferability, for facilitating youth clients to make a move from the ZPD to their preferred ZAD by leveraging the involvement of more enabling others as resourceful persons or mentors. Experience-driven recognition serves not only as a starting point for acknowledging prior and current experiences, but also as a key component across all three other domains of experiences leading to experience-driven exposures, self-growth, and transferability. Enhanced self and social recognition can motivate young people to welcome new interactive exposures, enjoy self-growth, and realize that the transfer of values, attitudes, skills, and knowledge that is VSK from one sphere of activities to another as appropriate. Here is a list of references. You may refer to my research publications for more details of the concepts and practice introduced here. I would like to acknowledge funding support from the Hong Kong Jockey Club Charities Trust for the CAP project 2015 to 2020. I hope you find this presentation interesting and helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victor. for giving us such a comprehensive presentation on youth career development. Now, in Chinese, there is always a saying, 勤有功戲無益. Okay, and then I noticed that in one of your slides, you also put work on one side and then leisure on the other side, even though you have the concept of serious leisure. I just wonder if we can have leisure or serious leisure in the work side as well, so that we don't have to say that we work and then we have leisure time. Can the two be integrated?
Thank you, Albert, for this very fascinating and stimulating question. Yes, play can also be serious. A serious nature of play is understood as a systematic and highly motivated pursuit of deep satisfaction or self-fulfillment through an activity young people find so interesting and substantial that they launch themselves on a career centered on acquiring and expressing its special skills, knowledge, and experiences on an individual or group basis. This kind of serious nature experience is not only good for developing transferable knowledge and skills, as well as values and attitudes, but is also capable of being transformed from an unpaid work activity into a vocational career. We have lots of these serious nature devotee examples, such as coffee baristas, bakers, YouTubers, esports anchors, etc. The key point for mentors or career practitioners is to acknowledge the individual interests or non-casual leisure activities pursued by young people and provide to them resources, opportunities, and networks to enable and empower them to develop serious learning pursuits that are good for generating impact on their continuous learning and future vocational careers.
Okay. I guess all of us would aspire to a job which we can do well, which fits our interest, and which also pays well. That would be very, very fulfilling in our life.
Yeah.
So, Victor, thank you again for your presentation and the guidance on the development of the CLAPTEC model as well. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So that will conclude our keynote speeches and Q&A sessions in the morning. Okay, so I'll pass the stage back to Kimberly, our very youthful and energetic MC of the day. So Kimberly, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Chow, and all our keynote speakers for your insightful remarks. Your dedication to this project forecasts the success of CLAPTEC at nurturing the next generation of workplace innovators. We are now going to have a 10-minute break. Please return to the room by 12:50 for HK time for our case study session on CLAPTEC and PTEC implementations in Asia and Australia. See you shortly. Welcome back. In the next half hour, we will hear from 3 program leads about their experiences launching CLAPTEC and PTEC programs in Australia, the Philippines, and Hong Kong, respectively. First up, please welcome Ms. Jade Muffet, Corporate Social Responsibility Lead of IBM ANZ, and PTEC Lead of ASEAN, New Zealand, Australia, and Korea, which we will refer to as ASEAN ZK. In her role, Jade has led PTEC from inception in Australia and New Zealand to now 22 fully operational schools. Ms. Muffet, please.
Hello, everyone. My name's Jade Moffat, and I'm delighted to be here today. As mentioned, I am the Corporate Social Responsibility Lead for IBM across Australia and New Zealand. And so I've been involved in the leadership in establishing 22 PTEC schools across Australia and New Zealand, which has been wonderful. And that's been in the last 6 years. I've also been involved in establishing another 20 PTEC schools outside of Australia and New Zealand, so many of them in Asia. And I was delighted to actually have a visit to Hong Kong in 2018 to meet with the Jockey Club and present on what we were doing in Australia and offer my support. And so I'm delighted that CLAPTEC has gone from strength to strength, and it's been wonderful to sit in on some of the prior talks today, really wonderful. As mentioned, I did have a trip to Hong Kong in 2018, and I just wanted to share this photograph. This was my first impression on arrival. I got into the taxi and the driver had 8 devices. And I thought, wow, this is really a country that embraces technology, and I was so excited to be there for my PTEC discussions. So that's just a bit of fun I wanted to share with you. But today I'm going to talk about the Australian and New Zealand experience of PTEC, which has been wonderful. And as mentioned, there's 22 fully operational PTEC schools across Australia and New Zealand at the moment. And the first school launched in 2015. So the focus areas that we have across those 22 schools are different. We do have schools that have a pure IT focus. And then we have others that have an advanced manufacturing or food technology focus, or even some of the schools actually have more of a business focus, but with the technology lens. So it's quite varied. And what really drives that is the industry need in the particular location where the school is. You're probably aware, but I'll just go through quickly, that both Australia and New Zealand are regarded as advanced economies. So there's some similarities with Hong Kong, but our populations are quite small. So in Australia, 25 million, and in New Zealand, we have 5 million. And geographically very large countries, especially compared with Hong Kong. The populations of both countries are mostly located in a few cities in the coastal areas, and then there's regional towns typically surrounding those larger capital cities. And I'll talk more about that in a moment with respect to where the PTEC schools are based. We have 60 industry partners across Australia and New Zealand for PTEC, and approximately 5,000 students have been exposed to PTEC. We've also been very fortunate to work closely with government over the years, and to date we've had funding contributions from both the Australian and New Zealand governments, and that's totaled about $400,000 US across the 2 countries. So if I talk about Australia for a moment, Australia was the first country outside of the USA to adopt the PTEC model in 2015. And so some localisation did need to occur, and we were doing it for the first time. There's now PTEC schools in 28 countries, but I'm really proud that Australia was the first country outside of the US. So broadly speaking, the key tenets that you see on the screen applied in Australia. However, there was some tweaking and localisation that occurred. And I must acknowledge Stan Littau's leadership and support in achieving a great outcome in Australia. Being that first country, we had a lot of questions about how this a model that came from Brooklyn, New York might apply in Australia and New Zealand, but we worked them through and we soon found that this is actually a model that could work in most places with some minor tweaks, as you're aware from the Hong Kong experience, which is great. So as we all know, and many speakers on the call today have highlighted, PTEC is absolutely about partnership, and it's at the high school level, the higher education level, and then with industry. The 5-year model, sometimes that's 6 years in some countries, and sometimes it's 4 years in other countries. So that is flexible. But basically, it's integrating the high school and the college or further education coursework linked to an industry skills map, and it's leading to what we call an industry recognised post-secondary qualification. So that can occur at college or university, or in Australia, we call it TAFE. So there's a range of different post-secondary environments that work quite well for PTEC. Number 3 is a really critical one in the Australian and New Zealand context, which was about the fee-free environment, particularly when you're dealing with some of the priority groups that we're dealing with here. So that was a really critical one, but finding really creative ways around that. So in Australia, it's quite common for all students to take a student loan from the government. And we found that actually the requirements to pay back that loan are such that you have to be earning a pretty good salary. It's certainly median earnings in Australia before you need to start paying it back. And that actually that did not act as a barrier to students participating in PTEC or gain a qualification. So it was something we worked through and thought about quite carefully. But in the end, we decided that as long as it was a loan rather than an upfront fee, that was okay in our context. The other element which was important for priority groups was the open enrolment aspect, no additional testing for admission. Some of our students were not the best and brightest in class and certainly did need some remedial support going into the PTEC program, and that is quite okay under the PTEC model. The workplace learning strand, absolutely, that's become what PTEC is really known for in the early years in Australia and New Zealand. And it's everything from the site visits, guest speakers, project days, the worksite visits where they get to experience, a real day in the life of working at IBM or another company. That's absolutely a critical part of taking what the students are learning in class and making it relevant for them. Why am I learning this in class? Well, then when they go into the workplace the next week, they're able to see the relevance very often. And then the final tenet, which is the first in line for interview for available entry-level jobs. We're really just reaching that point in Australia now, which is a very exciting point to reach, which is great. And I'll talk about that a bit further on another slide. Okay, so the key drivers for PTEC in Australia and New Zealand are really the same at inception and through to now. So it's really about the tech talent shortage. We know in every country in the world there's a tech talent shortage, and it's no different across Australia and New Zealand. Driven partly by the fact that tech is just becoming more pervasive across every role in work these days. But AI is really triggering some seismic changes in how the world of work operates. So those tech skill shortages, they're actually need to be addressed more than ever. And in Australia, we've actually experienced going backwards during COVID, and the gaps are even larger than they were prior to COVID. across Australia and New Zealand, we know that diversity, access and inclusion are challenges across the tech sector. So in cybersecurity, for example, only 10% of workers are female. And in New Zealand, only 4% of the current tech industry identify as either Maori or Pacifica. So these are issues we're seeking to address through the PTech program. And we have particular targets and strategies for addressing those issues. There's also an issue in Australia and New Zealand with recruiting tech workers outside of the major cities. And so we've actually made a point of locating PTech schools in the outer suburban areas of cities or in regional centres. And that has really been a very successful strategy for us. And I think that that would be something I would recommend other countries look into if appropriate. Increasingly, students are talking to us about wanting flexibility in their study model. And so that's also something that we're able to offer through the PTech model across Australia and New Zealand. And the Harvard Business Review in recent years talks about the 3 justs in education, and I really like it. I think it's a simple way to sum up some of the trends that we're seeing in education and some of the trends that PTech is responding to. So they call it the just in time, just enough, and just for me with respect to education. And I think that's where PTech is ticking each of those boxes, which is great. Here's a look at some of the partners. As I mentioned, we've got about 60 partners across Australia and New Zealand in PTech, and you'll see from the screen, you may not recognise all of them, but I'm sure you'll recognise some of them. We've got both large and small partners, and the way that we look at it when we're putting together a PTech partnership is that it's a bit like a puzzle. So some industry partners, they love the idea of PTech and they say, oh, we've got a large workforce and we really support the idea of guest speakers and mentoring and allowing our people to develop their own leadership skills through those types of activities. However, internships, for example, might be quite difficult for us. So the way that we've approached it in our region is, as I said, like a puzzle. So as long as all of the key components of PTech can be fulfilled, we work it out so that one partner might be providing the mentoring and the guest speakers. We'll partner them with someone else that can provide the internships aspect. And as long as all the aspects are covered, it doesn't matter from our perspective which industry partner is actually providing what. That can, of course, change over time, and a key aspect that leads to success in PTech is checking back in on an annual basis. You know, are you still tracking towards the same jobs? Do all the partners remain committed to the program? Are they still able to offer all of the things that they've offered in the past? So that puzzle is dynamic, but really works very well for us, and it allows some of the smaller businesses to get involved in PTech. They may not have been able to offer all the elements by themselves to partner with the school, but when they work in a cluster environment with other industry partners, it can work really well. So I always explain PTech, I say that it's about beginning with the end in mind. So what is the end in mind with respect to PTech? Well, it's really about getting young people into jobs and filling the skills gap. So when we start a PTech partnership across Australia and New Zealand, we really start with the industry partners and we go through a process where we ask them to identify the key roles that they've got some skills gaps in and really forecasting 3 to 5 years into the future. And then we do an analysis where we look at what the key attributes would be for success in those roles. So are there any prerequisites as with respect to qualifications? And what are the academic, technical and interpersonal skills that are required for success? And once we have that list, then we can look at the existing curriculum at both the post-secondary and the secondary environment and identify where the gaps might lie and where we're pretty well covered for those types of skills that we're wanting to develop in the students. Typically across Australia and New Zealand, we find that there's about a 70 to 80% match on the skills that are already being developed through the existing curriculum. And then we've got about a 20% gap. And depending on what that gap is what solution you might come up with. So if it's a technical gap, it might be about getting some really engaging guest speakers in to support the teaching staff and to skill the students up in that technical area. If the gap is in the interpersonal area, and we find that that is very much the case usually, that is usually something that can be addressed through mentoring and guest speakers. And so mentoring has really become a very important part of the PTEC program across Australia and New Zealand. And we've identified that our young people need some support with the development of their interpersonal skills. This is a quick timeline, and Stan Littau spoke a little bit about some of these things, but I wanted to just give you a quick overview. So you can see that in 2011, PTEC launched in the US. It was on the front page of Time magazine. By 2013, Obama had visited the first PTEC school in Brooklyn in New York, which was very exciting. And then very shortly after that, the Australian Prime Minister paid a visit to the school in Brooklyn. He walked out of the tour and was so impressed that he committed some funding immediately. There were reporters waiting outside, and he made a commitment to funding 2 pilot schools back in Australia. And he could really see that the model was quite unique for the time and something that Australia could benefit from, which was great. So in 2015, 13 schools were actually launched in Australia. So we went from 2 to 13 pretty quickly with respect to the government funding. I started at IBM at that time too. I took the job because I thought PTEC sounded like a wonderful initiative to work on. And then in 2016, Rashid Davis was a keynote speaker at IBM's Think conference in Sydney. Now, Rashid Davis is the founding principal of PTEC. He is the principal still of the Brooklyn PTEC school. And so that really generated a lot of excitement in Australia to have him come out and speak at a conference. And so from then on, we just had further expansion in Australia and New Zealand. And I was delighted to be at the launch of a further 4 schools in Auckland in New Zealand just a few weeks back. We had the Minister for Pacifica Peoples make the official announcement at the launch, and Jacinda Ardern, who is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she was actually travelling in New York at the time and was unable to attend, but she sent a video message welcoming the students into the PTEC program, which was really exciting and wonderful to have the endorsement from the government as well. So now I'd like to talk quickly about 2 specific schools. So the first one is in Ballarat in Australia. It was the second school in Australia to open, the second PTEC school. It was interesting because IBM is a single industry partner. So I talked about the case is that the vast majority of the schools across Australia and New Zealand are actually multi-industry partner schools. So a cluster, we call it, of industry partners. But Ballarat is unique in that it is just IBM as the industry partner, and IBM has committed to funding fulfilling all the key tenets of PTEC for that particular school from 2015. It's a 5-year program, so that was something that we had to work through, and Stan Littau was certainly very helpful in working through that with us, but we decided on a 5-year program, and it actually over the years has evolved to some flexibility, and it can be a 4-year program. One of the things that's been interesting with this particular school is as the time has come for the students to move into the tertiary environment, there's been a lot of government incentives around funding. And so there's been some changes to the stream of study that the students embark on. And so with the real push from the Australian government for further cybersecurity professionals, that has been a focus area that we've increasingly looked to because the fees are significantly reduced by way of a government contribution. One thing that's been terrific at the Ballarat School is that we've been able to offer for the first time in Australia through PTEC traineeships. And so we currently have some students, they're undergoing an 18-month traineeship, which is wonderful. And we have a short video, which we're going to play now for you.
Hi. Okay, welcome. So could you tell me your name?
Yeah, so I'm Jake McCurdy.
My name's Harlan Fisher.
Hi, I'm Rory Taylor.
Tobias Saul.
I am Gabriel Jeffersoni. I am legally blind. Due to my vision, I need to adapt to education, need to adapt to what I can and can't do. I guess I couldn't focus too much in class. It wasn't like the right system for me, I suppose.
I'm autistic and I sometimes need special adjustments for myself. I found that often wasn't provided to me, especially as I got older. I was a victim of bullying quite often.
So I was homeschooled for the first 9 years before I went to PTEC.
I wasn't a huge fan of the mainstream sort of high school environment, and I wanted to study more in IT, and so yeah, I made a decision and left, started the school year in 2018 at PTEC.
Classes are a lot smaller, which is good, so it's a lot more personal with the teachers. My impressions were, this is the course that I want to do. This has exactly what I want to learn, people that I like, great teachers. I felt like I was welcomed.
The environment that we were in was made it all comfortable.
I'm studying a certificate in cybersecurity. I reckon programmer.
I have a special interest in hardware aspect of technology.
I tried networking last year, so maybe that as well. I found pretty interesting.
Planning on doing a bachelor's in cyber security.
IBM and PTEC work quite closely together, so there were several opportunities to visit some industries.
And I've really enjoyed it. It's been really nice getting to experience what it's like in an actual tech industry, being able to experience that corporate environment and see how nice and accepting everyone is.
It's a place that I believe will accommodate for my disability, and somewhere that I believe I could gain some useful experience from.
Well, I've got some really good news. We'd like to offer you a traineeship with IBM.
Bit sad. I didn't expect this.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Great, I accept.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be an actual IBM member.
You're an IBMer now. That's great.
So that was a great day when we could let the trainees know, or the PTEC students at the time, know that they would become IBM PTEC trainees. I'm delighted that I can share that with you. And as they roll off their traineeship program, we're now talking to them about the next steps, which will be different for each of them, but that's part of the PTEC journey. And certainly for some of them, they will step into roles at IBM. So I realise that I've gone a little bit over time, so I'm going to leave it there, but thank you very much. And I wanted to leave my email address with you. If anyone has questions, feel free to reach out directly. Thanks so much and enjoy the rest of the symposium.
Thank you, Ms. Moffat, for sharing your inspiring story from Australia. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Abigail Laseca, Program Manager of PTEC Philippines, IBM Skills Build for ASEAN ZK, onto the virtual stage. Ms. Laseca has joined IBM as Industry Program Manager for P-Tech in the Philippines since 2019, supporting public school students to develop 21st century skills and competencies that will translate to new-collar jobs and careers. More recently, she has taken on the role of IBM Skills Build Program Manager to support its partners and learners in the region through a free digital learning platform on emerging technologies and professional skills designed for students, teachers, and job seekers. Ms. Laseca, please.
Hello and good afternoon. A pleasant afternoon to all of you. On behalf of IBM Philippines Corporate Social Responsibility, I would like to personally thank the organizers of today's symposium, including my counterpart, Mr. Gilbert Yu, P-Tech Industry Program Manager for IBM in Hong Kong, among his other many hats. I'm truly grateful for the privilege of sharing with you today the case study of P-Tech in the Philippines. Although not as mature as the P-Tech network of Australia and New Zealand, as presented by Ms. Jade Moffat earlier, there have been noteworthy developments as we strove to push for P-Tech implementation in the Philippines since 2019. So let me just quickly share quick stats about the country. I hope you're familiar where we are. We're a close neighbor to Hong Kong, and this is the capital where the red locator button is, and we are in Metro Manila. So of course, you know that the Philippines is a very populous country, although it shares its GDP with the likes of Hong Kong and Singapore, but we are much more populated. So so that really drags a lot of things in the country. But the good thing is our official languages are Filipino and English, so making us making us more mature in terms of the education system, and also the use of these online learning platforms as well. So many of the P-Tech efforts are centered in Metro Manila, and Metro Manila is composed of 16 cities and with a population of about 12 million. So as you can see, there's a lot of potential, just not only in Metro Manila, but actually other parts of the country. So this is what IBM Philippines has actually taken a look at. And the good news is in 2019, with IBM CSR manager for the Philippines, Andrea Escalona taking charge, the first P-Tech school was launched. And it's a partnership between IBM, the city government of Taguig, and Taguig City University. It's a locally funded university that offers senior high school all the way to college. And the first cohort of P-Tech students started in August of the same year. Many of these students come from the poorest of the poor families in their community, while some are even the first in their families to enter pre-college. So currently we are now in our third cohort with a total of 244 learners of grade 11, 12, and first year college. It's good to note that the P-Tech in the Philippines is a 4-year program. So after senior high school, they earn a 2-year degree program. So they start their journey in grade 11 senior high, following the STEM curriculum of the Department of Education. And this curriculum has been curated through workplace learning activities. As mentioned by Jade, these are very important. This is composed of project-based learning activities, mentoring, seminars, and workshops. And in the Philippines, we dub them as P-Tech Talks. We also plan to do a lot of more worksite visits in the coming months. Hopefully, during this pandemic, when the government eases up, we can all do face-to-face classes as well. So P-Tech in the Philippines follows 2 different pathways at the moment: core testers and user interface, user experience graphics specialists. So these 2 jobs are considered to be in high demand in the coming years. And once they earn their associate's degree, in computer technology with the specialization track of their choice, these learners will be able to get a job pretty fast and pretty soon. So next year will be the first batch of our learners graduating, and we are looking forward to this. So on top of this, our students are exposed to IBM coaches and mentors, and as well as PTech students in other countries to help enrich their learning experience and expand their global network. So we intend to have their worksite visits, and we want them to do projects and skills-based learning next school year, and all of these learners will all have to undergo at least 300 hours of paid internship. So let me just quickly show you how we were able to adjust to the pandemic. As you know, we launched PTech in 2019, and just a few months after that, the pandemic happened. So schools had to close indefinitely, and our learners and teachers had to quickly adapt to some sort of distance or blended learning modalities. And as the pandemic continued to surge in 2021, we had to work with some partners to be able to really work and help our school, PTech school as well. So in this slide, you can see that we've worked with our partner, Philippine Business for Social Progress. They're the largest business-led NGO in the country, and they helped us provide e-devices because, as you know, many of our learners have still access issues, so we had to help them, loan them some laptops, maybe some internet and data, so that they can continue their PTech learning experience. We also, of course, after we've done this, we were able to organize a lot of webinars, a lot of activities, PTech talks and career exploration, job application essentials, design thinking, and the like. We were also able to, virtually do a mentoring session with our learners. We were able to match them with IBM volunteers and mentors. And mentoring is a key tenet in the advancement of PTech students. So it exposes them to an early age to professionals and industry experts that are not otherwise available in more traditional schools. So just a quick achievement, we wanted to show you how we were able to implement PTech and our online learning platform, IBM Skills Built for Students. So at the start of the pandemic, IBM launched this platform. At that time, it was called Open PTech, and it builds on the strengths of the PTech model by offering self-paced introductory learning modules and emerging tech, such as cloud, blockchain, data science, programming, and all of that stuff. At the same time, it provides them with 21st century skills, such as problem solving, critical thinking, communication, and more. And what's good about Skills Build is that it can be accessed on most devices. So it really helped with the access issue. So Skills Build can run on laptops, on smartphones, and tablets, PCs, and the like. So there's a lot of mix of content in IBM Skills Build. It's designed, particularly the students platform is designed for learners 14 to 18 years old, and it offers industry recognized badges. So compared to other online courses, it allows learners to take their courses for free, but upon completion, they are being charged a fee. So in this case, Skills Build is entirely free and offered to our partner schools and communities. So our PTech students and teachers in Taguig were the first ones to benefit from Skills Built for Students way back in late 2020. And we allowed them to explore the contents on their own. As you can see, there's a lot of champion gold learners. They were able to accomplish this in no time. And eventually, once they got the hang of it, we worked in 2021 with their teachers and really tried to develop IBM Skills Built in the curriculum through the work immersion subject of the students. So since we still could not do face-to-face learning, we had to find a way to really, develop their skills and competencies. And we found work immersion subject to be something that's very relevant for our learners. So this is a sample of the work immersion plan that we created at the time. So what's good about this is that the Skills Build platform offers educators the capability to track their learners and their badges, and also gives the teachers freedom to create learning activities, plans, channels, and quizzes in the portal. So this is just a sample of what we've done so far, and we want to do this further this school year. Okay, and I just want to maybe share this with you. From our experience with the Taguig City University, we actually share this with the Department of Education, National Capital Region that handles the 16 Metro Manila cities. And, with the help of PBSP, our NPO partner, and DepEd NCR, we were able to attract more learners into the platform. And we started with a pilot last year, and we were able to at least register 4,000 learners and clock in more than 7,000 learning hours and 700 badges in this initiative. And we hope to do more this year. So finally, or just a few more slides, I guess I wanted to share with you some of what we've been doing. We were doing, of course, after Taguig City University, we are also looking into expanding PTech in other countries, in other cities. And as you can see, we want to focus more in Makati and Valenzuela as well. In the slide, it'll show you what sorts of roles we are looking at. So it's a good thing is we are expanding our industry partners, and we are working with the IT Interaction Philippines and the Analytics Association of the Philippines. Combined, these two associations have more than 200 organizations and companies under their belt. So this really gives the PTech learners a unique advantage of applying to work in these industries. Of course, we wanted to strengthen the ecosystem of partners as well. And similar to what you're doing now, we did some online fora and events and summits to really encourage more of our partners to look at what the PTech ecosystem has to offer. Okay, so I know I'm running out of time, but allow me to share just a few more slides. And I just wanted to show you our students' testimonials and partners. So they all have, I guess, good things to say of the PTech network. And let me just maybe give you just a snapshot of what a PTech student looks like in Taguig City University. So this is Oriel. And Oriel is in his year 3 in PTech. And, he's really coming from humble roots. He's 18 years old, and he has a single mother. And like many other students in this pandemic, he has been displaced. He had to go to another town to earn a living. So he's doing odd jobs and working at the fish port and construction sites or whatever jobs he can take. But the good thing is, because of his ability to do his classes online, he would be able to also attend his classes virtually. So when in his spare time, he works, but he's a PTech student by heart. And finally, I guess we just wanted to share with you some lessons learned. And this is very important to, I guess, the future of PTech in the Philippines. And we know that industry's role is vital. 90% of employers come from private industries. Thus, industry's role is vital to understanding the PTech model and initiating the discussions in their community. And of course, we all know it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to create a 21st century graduate. So we want to make sure that PTech implementation follows the triple helix, academe, government, / non-government, and of course industry works hand in hand for the successful implementation of PTech in the communities these partners wish to serve. Mentors and champions are very important as well. Find that particular champion in your community, in your PTEC community, and also work with a lot of mentors, because mentors fuel the PTEC mentoring experience, and they are vital to maintaining the pipeline, not only of learners, but also of mentors as well. This is important, and we're learning this still as we're going along. And we're lucky that in the Philippines, IBM has a champion, who is our country general manager, Eileen, who advocates and speak about PTEC at every chance she gets. And of course, sustainability. We all know that viability and sustainability of PTEC is very important. So all partners must bring their skin in the game. And we've also learned that it's important to embed unique PTEC programs in the curricula and work with the government for PTEC to be aligned with particular policies and programs, and learn from other experiences of other countries as well. So we really believe in PTEC, and we want to encourage everyone to be part of this growing community. So that's it for me. I'd like to thank you for listening, and I hope you learned from our Philippines experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lasaka, for your practical tips and visionary sharing from the Philippines. Finally, we will hear from Mr. Andrew Ho about CLAPTEC in Hong Kong. Mr. Ho is the director of the CLAPTEC Center at HKBU. Prior to joining Hong Kong Baptist University in 2019, Mr. Ho drove process improvement and mergers and acquisitions synergy initiatives. As a financial director, he supervised a team to manage a $200 million USD annual budget. Out of his passion to help young people realize their potential, he joined the education sector in 2019 at HKBU to lead the CLAPTEC pathway. We will hear about how the CLAPTEC program has been received in Hong Kong shortly. Mr. Ho, please.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited to share with you about CLAPTEC implementation in Hong Kong. CLAPTEC inherits the best from CLAP at JC by the Jockey Club Charity Trust and PTEC. As influenced by Jockey Club's vision in Young People's Career and Life Planning, or CLP for short, CLAPTEC emphasizes on the need to build a study pathway of multiple entry and exit points, empower students to make informed choices, and build the capacity of Hong Kong educators. The essence of CLAPTEC is, of course, the tripartite partnership between industry, university, and secondary schools. Thanks to Jockey Club's generous donations, the CLAPTEC Center is set up at HKBU to facilitate this partnership and to improve the program's scalability and sustainability. CLAPTEC is a 5-year pathway. It enters mainstream education through applied learning courses, which are valued electives under the HKDSE, Hong Kong's local university entrance exam. We launched the ICT track in 2020 and a new track in creative media this year. Students' journey start from a taster experience. No prerequisite is required except for a passion in the subject. Through PTEC's skills mapping process, industry partners helped us identify hard and soft skills required by future jobs. Secondary school partners provided us input to tailor for the needs of students. And with the support from the Education Bureau, the Applied Learning course Tech Basics and Multimedia Storytelling were born. For higher diploma in data science, or HDDS, and the upcoming HD in creative media, skills mapping helped us to define 3 high-demand future job roles for each HD. Graduates can choose to enter the workforce, or start their own business, or further their studies. HKBU respects and recognizes that talents of multiple dimensions. So as a special arrangement, all our Tech Basics Applied Learning students are conditionally admitted into HDDS before they write the HKDSE. 76% of the graduating cohort welcome this arrangement. Secondary schools are important CLAPTEC partners. In order to enhance students' informed decision-making capability, Jockey Club is an advocate of a school-based support model. HKBU lecturers co-teach the course with secondary school teachers at the secondary schools. As key influencers to students, the teachers can monitor student learning progress and guide students to integrate CLAPTEC education with CLP. The educators build up one another through co-teaching. School teachers learn domain knowledge, and lecturers learn how to teach secondary school students more effectively. Along with periodic trainer workshops, some of which were conducted by our industry partners, CLAPTEC builds capacity for educators. And to support the needs of different schools and students, CLAPTEC also offers joint school classes and mixed school classes that take place at HKBU with no co-teaching. CLAPTEC has a diversified student body. All students are welcomed regardless of gender, ethnicity, or educational needs. We are grateful that in less than 3 years, our industry partners have soared by 5-fold. With this luxurious lineup, CLAPTEC can provide students many unique workplace learning exposures. They joined international exchange, developed apps and chatbots, participated in design thinking workshops and cross-school competitions, research communities physically and virtually. And for mentorship, we have technical mentors, business-oriented mentors, and those from both worlds. They offer a wide range of knowledge and life stories to students. With our first cohort graduating from secondary school, let's hear some sharing and testimonies.
我係今年中六畢業嘅學生，喺 CLAPTEC 3年以嚟，喺課堂上同埋業界導師身上都學咗好多嘢，令我更加有信心喺 IT 方面升學。我仲記得2年前我參加咗一個聊天機械人嘅訓練課程，咁喺呢個課程入邊我就可以製作一個屬於自己嘅聊天機械人啦。當時我就諗啦，我可唔可以將呢一個知識融會貫通咁樣用喺我自己嘅作品上邊呢？我參加咗一個公開嘅比賽，製作咗收數2呢一個作品。呢個作品入邊，我就可以運用人工智能去嚟辨認手頭上嘅塑膠類型，然之後使用聊天機械人作輔助去辨認塑膠之後嘅資訊啊，同埋佢嘅回收地點咁樣。咁最後仲獲得咗優異獎添。
參加 CLAPTEC 以嚟，除咗喺課堂上邊學邊實踐一啲實用嘅 IT 知識同埋技能以外，仲學到唔少嘅軟技能，例如領導才能，令到我更加有效管理學校嘅領袖生啦。當團隊出現分歧嘅時候，我就可以運用相應嘅方法去化解矛盾。CLAPTEC 都提供咗好多資源，例如去到一啲國際大型企業啦，進行一啲活動同埋彙報。譬如之前同 UBS 合作舉辦一個理財遊戲，仲有機會去到 UBS 進行彙報。喺呢次實踐中，讓我更加真實地接觸到出面嘅企業做嘅 project 啦，明白團隊同埋分工嘅重要性。
咁我睇到咧喺 CLAPTEC 呢個課程裏邊咧，其中一個最大嘅同其他應用學習課程唔同咧，其中一個就係大學同埋中學之間咧嗰個緊密嘅協作。因為咧我哋嘅老師咧係會親身落到去咧呢個課程入邊咧，係同大專嘅老師咧一齊去備課啦，一齊去學習啦，一齊去研究，甚至一齊去上課。其實喺呢個模式之下咧，讓到大專嘅老師咧，亦都能夠更深入了解我哋同學嘅需要，而我哋中學嘅老師咧，亦都能夠真係攞到最專業嘅知識。而呢一個嘅我哋所講嘅模式咧，唔係好多喺應用學習課程裏邊咧，我哋會見得到。咁我亦都期望呢一種嘅模式咧，能夠咧係慢慢擴展落去，讓大專、大學同埋中學呢一種嘅協作咧，能夠更加深遠、更加有意義。
CLAPTEC 唔單止帶俾學生一個新嘅體驗，同時亦都擴闊咗老師嘅眼界，讓老師可以了解到教育以外一啲行業嘅發展。當中其中一個最大嘅特色咧，就係將商界拉咗半隻腳走入去校園裏邊，讓老師可以同業界咧有一個更緊密嘅接觸。好多老師由畢業之後咧就係教書㗎啦，佢哋都好少機會會離開校園，對商界認識更加唔多添。不過喺 CLAPTEC 嘅課程裏邊，透過同一啲企業導師嘅接觸啦，同埋參與各種商界嘅活動嘅時候咧，讓老師都可以掌握到更多行內嘅資訊，啟發到老師喺同學嘅職業嘅輔導上邊咧，有一個更新更務實嘅建議。我覺得對學生嘅未來生涯規劃咧係有一個好大嘅幫助。
Evaluation is a crucial step that no project can afford to skip. Compared to the norm group, our CLAPTEC students score higher in 4 areas in their values profile under VAST. This possibly means that they are more willing to work harder to gain more extrinsic rewards. They are more willing to follow guidelines. They prefer working with people, and they are more open to new experiences. Based on Jockey Club's back evaluation framework, more than 80% of the students awarded a favorable rating in all 5 categories by the end of 2021. And further, our data showed that students who joined CLAPTEC were more knowledgeable about the IT industry and the workplace than those who did not. Likewise, CLAPTEC students attained higher scores in life and career exploration. The scores are further boosted when co-teaching is present. From our recent exit survey, mass majority of our students believe that they enhance their self-understanding, motivation in learning, and also resilience, confidence, and decision-making ability in their CLP. Around 2/3 of our graduating students expressed a desire to continue pursuing ICT. Independent of their choices, we are confident that they are well informed. There are many exciting developments we are looking forward to. New students, study tour, incorporating business cases in our higher diploma curriculum, sending students onto internships, knowledge transfer through offering pedagogy report and research papers, and more. As our first ICT cohort reaches a key milestone, creative media students has just began their CLAPTEC journey. Let's hear what they think of the program so far.
我中意佢比較好自由，佢打破咗以往嘅學習方式啦，唔只限於死記硬背，相反地佢會有更加多嘅方法俾我去完成我想做嘅嘢。
我最中意佢即係教整機嗰方面啦，即係唔單止話係自己想學啦，同埋佢有時係合作嗰時整咧，可以有好多唔同嘅 idea， 可以溝通埋一齊，有好多意見。
咁我自己係勁中意動漫同埋啲畫畫嘅，同埋嗰啲遊戲啊、策劃，所以我自己希望可以做到個策劃師啦。咁可以就係畫啲自己中意嘅嘢。
I took this course in the first place because I believe that with this course it can teach me how to use any social media or any part of technology in general to basically help me further advance my career in the future.
即係好似最近份功課啦，就幫一條片配音嘅，咁配音加上加啲音效啦，咁我整完之後就好有成就感啦。我爸媽都睇到之後都好，即係覺得讚我都整得好好。
We gather here today because we all believe that young people deserve to have choices, to have dreams. I want to thank the Hong Kong Jockey Club, IBM, all industry and secondary partners, the Education Bureau, my colleagues at HKBU for all the support. With our continued joint effort, we will see more and more dreams coming true, one student at a time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ho. We all look forward to the continued success of CLAPTEC in Hong Kong. And that marks our next break. So please take this 10-minute break to freshen up, and we will return for a panel with industry partners about CLAPTEC's rollout in Hong Kong. See you all at 1:50. Welcome back. I hope you all had a nice break. I know we have joiners from various time zones. I hope you're not too tired. I'm excited to introduce The second last session of today, our industry partners panel. One thing that makes ClapTech and PTech stand out from the rest of the programs is its wide network of industry partners who are directly involved in curriculum development. The course contents are industry recognized, designed with skills mapping in mind, and to cater to the growing demand for new-collar roles. Industry partners also provide ClapTech students with real-life workplace learning experiences, first-in-line job interviews, and to give the students the chance to network with experienced industry practitioners long before they enter the workplace. These opportunities for career readiness are rare in today's traditional educational curricula, particularly not at the secondary school level. This paradigm is therefore a truly career-oriented program, which leverages young people to success in today's increasingly technological world. We are honored to be joined now by some of our most renowned industry partners in a panel discussion about aspirations for the ClapTech and PTech programs in Asia. Our panel facilitator will be Dr. Maggie Fong. Dr. Fong is the Curriculum Development Senior Manager of Creative Media of the ClapTech Center. She is responsible for the development of applied learning courses curriculum and pathway tailored for the senior secondary school students who want to pursue their careers in multimedia storytelling and relevant professions. Dr. Fung has served as the program director of the Bachelor of Science Honors in Integrated Communication Management in the School of Communication of HKBU since 2014. A very warm welcome to you all. I will now pass the time to Dr. Fung. Dr. Fung, please.
For your lunch or during your lunch. Okay, so I'm Maggie, and it is an honor to have the opportunity to facilitate this section with our industry partners and you all here about ClapTech Pathway. Now in this section, altogether, we have about 40 minutes for our industry partners to exchange their viewpoints promptly on the 4 discussion areas, which is about ClapTech Pathway. That's about 7 minutes each, and I'll be the timekeeper here. So then towards the end of the section, if we have some time left, we'll take questions from the audience. So please feel free to drop us questions in the, the box below, the Q&A box below, along the panel discussion. Joining us in today's symposium, we have a panel of business leaders of IT, banking, marketing services industry. Without further ado, let's welcome and let panelists in an alphabetical order to tell you a little bit more about their backgrounds. So let's start with Ms. Lisa Chen. Lisa Chen is IBM Corporate Citizenship Manager, GCG, CHQ IBM, Taiwan. So please, Lisa.
Hello, thank you, Maggie, and my fellow panelist colleagues. It's a great honor to join today's symposium. I'm Lisa. I'm the corporate social responsibility lead for Greater China Group, means Taiwan, Hong Kong, and China. I'm based in Taipei, and I work with my colleagues in GCG areas for all this career education model. So I'm glad I have a chance to talk today to share what IBM has been doing and our partnership with all our schools and industry partners. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Second of all, we have Mr. Arun Ajanrun. Please talk about your background. Arun is a Senior Director of Drive and Headstack Assembly Engineering, Seagate Technology Limited, Correct Corporations. Please, Arun.
I will welcome everyone. So it's my pleasure to be here for the guest speaker today. So I actually am the Senior Director of the hard disk drive operation in Korat, which is located at the Northeast Asia or the Northeast area of the Thailand. I have managed a lot of the organizations such as the engineering and also the technician working with the automation equipment quite a lot. So that's my expertise. And it's my pleasure again to talk to you all.
Thank you, Aaron. And then we have Mr. KK Zhang. KK Zhang is the CEO of the Bees Holdings Limited. Please, KK.
Hi, thank you, Maggie. Hello, everyone. I am KK Zhang. I've been in the advertising industry for over 30 years. I founded the Bees Group 10 years ago. We are a marketing services group providing service like advertising, PR, events, digital marketing, performance marketing, everything related to marketing services. Okay, so I'm very glad to have the opportunity to present today and participate in this panel discussion. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, KK. Now, last but not the least, we have Mr. Stanley Yu, Executive Director, Wealth Management CDIO, UBS AG. So please, Mr. Yu.
Thank you, Maggie, and thanks for inviting to join today's symposium. It's a great event. My name is Stanley. Good afternoon, everyone. I am working at UBS Hong Kong. I am working in the Wealth Management Technology Department, mainly look after the software development of the global initiatives such as the mobile banking, client communication tool, advisor dashboard, etc. for the bank. And that's my background. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again for all of you being here for the panel discussion. So let's get started. Our first discussion question is, what are the perceived value of CLAPTEC pathway in career education from your own point of view?
I think the CLAPTEC pathway program is very valuable to the students. The program offers alternatives other than traditional education and subject. Because some students do not perform very well in traditional subject, but they may have other talents such as creativity, passion for new technology, or coding, etc. So this program offers alternatives for them to get in touch with the areas that they have passion and they have the capability. And also through the industry partner participation, the student can have early access to the industry. So they can learn the most up-to-date information, knowledge, techniques, so that it helps to facilitate for them to choose what subject to take in university. And also probably in the end, they may decide whether they want to pursue a career in that particular areas.
Right, very good. And any other viewpoints on this discussion?
I totally agree with what KK mentioned. It is a great opportunity. And from me, I think I see two key values in the entire program. Definitely one is the massive resources and the pragmatic approach. As mentioned by KK, with this CLAPTEC unique platform, we are bringing all the industrial partners together. And think about that, it covers a lot of different industry and service sectors. And the SME as well as the mentor from the partners, they all came from different departments with different roles and know-how and experience. So this forms a very massive pool of resources so that it creates a huge opportunity for the youth, the young talent to tap into this opportunity. That is really a massive resources. And I'm always a person to focus on learning by doing. So with this in parallel to the academic path of the student, it really gives a very, very open dialogue so that you can get a pragmatic approach to understand what will be the future for the youngsters, which I really.
Thank you, Stanley.
I think CLAPTEC or PTEC in the longer way is a very good solution to address the skills gap, because skill crisis is a global phenomenon. In the prep meeting I had with the other panelists, that every country, every geo is like facing the very severe challenges of talent shortage. So in a longer term, this education model, how it can strengthen the regional economies to build a workforce with the technical and professional skills. I think that is very important. And I agree with Stanley, it's a programmatic view. Okay, so it's like short-term, long-term, and eventually can benefit the whole workforce. The other thing, like following my colleagues from Australia and Philippines, is to really support the underprivileged youth with an education opportunity. That is also why IBA is having CSR teams doing this. So skills gap and also helping with a fair education opportunity.
I see. Okay, so maybe I go to the second discussion questions. What are your visions or expectations in the participation as industry partners in the pathway? Arun, you have any point of view here?
What are my vision? Wow, good. Actually, what I'm looking for is that for the PTech program is like the technical pathway for the technical person, for the student they can learn. So with this, I believe that if we want to do the better way for everyone to learn in this one, they probably can come and then learn from practicing, not only because of when we get engaged to them. So we want to have them experience in the way that we do our work instead of just learning in the academic way. I expect that everyone that graduates from the PTech program probably can not only earn the education from the academic, but they can also learn other soft skill and also the skill in the industry so that they can fit well in the future industry need.
Okay, thank you, Arun.
Yeah. I think I totally agree that if we focus a lot more on the young talent, actually my expectation or the vision, sometimes I want to focus on win-win situation.
Right.
I really want to ensure that it's not just the student themselves really gain their path, it also extend to the industrial partner as well, because we want to create a win-win environment for everyone. So I do expect that my colleagues as well, they can trigger a new way of working, new idea, the thought process, the chemical effect when we interact with the youngsters in the program. That will really help us to have a new way to improve the entire society.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one thing is like a stronger collaboration, like across GCG, we have like almost 40 industry partners, like taking Taiwan as example, because 80% of Taiwan's economic portfolio are small and medium enterprises. So we have like more than 30 industry partners working on PTech for 4 schools. So how do we create a stronger ecosystem? Because each industry partners has their own expertise and their own skills. So how can we work together to create a stronger and more integrated synergy? That is one thing I think we can do.
Right, synergy. Okay, so I think also with the art and tech, you know, the innovation trend, we can have more synergy as well. So KK, you want to say something?
Well, from the creative industry point of view, I think we are always in talent shortage. So my expectation of the program is that we can develop young talents. For industry partners, we have the advantage to have early access to the talent pool. So so we can have access to those who are very passionate about the industry and also who are creative, who have the capability to work in this industry. So we can have access to them even before they enter university. And I hope we can groom talents for the industry, and maybe we can it can also benefit us as well as an industry partner.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So what about, are there any challenges that you can perceive during being an industry partner during the whole process? Any challenges?
Well, I think the challenge is that on one hand, the time pressure. As you know, the creative industry is a very busy industry. People work non-stop, day and night, and even weekend. So it's always a challenge for them to spare time with the young students and contribute to this program. And I think the other challenge is that is the knowledge gap. Because there is a huge knowledge gap between the practitioners and the students. So the practitioners may not know very well what the students know and what they don't know. And also the students may be too shy to ask questions. That's a challenge too.
Yeah, Hong Kong people are very shy to ask questions. So what about other cultures?
It's always better for,
you can hear
I
more
think the
from
students benefit most if they are more proactive.
Yes, yes, I agree. So what about Lisa, how about the cultural in Taiwan? So are they also very shy on asking questions or?
Yes, in my generation, yes, but we are very exciting to see the younger generation, especially our PTES students. They are really active and they've been encouraged to really express what they think and their voices. So that is one very good sign. We really see it during this like PTET journey. So actually, Taiwan PTET schools is under the Tech University. PTET student at the age of 16, 17, they are actually working in the same campus with university students. So we hear a lot of very good positive feedback from university professors that our PTET students actually like very aggressive and very expressive. So that is one good thing to know. But of course, the PTET whole design is to really encourage them to have this kind of like college to career. So they are having and receiving this different training. And that is, I think, that the one of the advantage for the PTET students, of course, for CLAPTEC students too.
Right, I see. So how about in the banking industry, you know, what do you think about our students?
I totally agree with the tough part is definitely on the ice breaking, the proactiveness. On top of that, we are from banking industry. We look at numbers, we look at logic. Our experience in teaching youngsters, to be honest. So and we're talking about different generations. So that's why I see we need to put extra effort in doing all this ice breaking to try to understand what the students' mindset like and encourage them to take up and proactively complete the task. So all these are effort and time on top of our day-to-day job. Yeah, but maybe we should also look into whether along the process will there be any support centrally to also coach us to coach the students well as part of the career.
That would be great.
Yeah, that was something that would be great as well. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so apart from the challenges, are there any perceived benefits being an industry partner in this project?
Or if I may continue on that one, as I said, I see that it's a win-win situation. Besides seeing the fellow student, they've been improving along the journey. At the same time, I think for our side, our colleagues is also improving. They think about a project and the way how they interact with different people. And one concrete example is recently we also partner with the students to customize one of our applications, which is a financial literacy application to teach people to run a commercial business. And this application has been rolled out in other locations. And this time around, we have been trying to roll it out in Hong Kong. And thanks to the CLAPTEC students to bring in their new insight, the new way of thinking, and localize the app for us. So this is something I see is really a new benefit that we may not really know what the young generation are thinking of. That is really a insight that we learn from them.
I mentioned earlier that for creative industry, we have the benefit of early access to talent pool. And apart from that, we have a side benefit of participating in this program because by working with the students, we have better understanding of the Gen Z group, the generation, which is a new and emerging consumer group. And we work with a lot of brands who target this group of consumers. So by understanding this generation group, we know what they like, what they don't like, and what they want, what they aspire to be, and what's their dream, so that we can work better for the brands, for our clients.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, besides Mr. KK, I think we also see another side benefit on for our employee, the one who participate in the program. Because during the program, you see that there are a lot of the volunteering employees to participate in the program, helping developing the curriculum, and then be the coaching for the student in the college. I think this is good experience for them to explore and then get experience during the program also, not only the student side, but also our side.
Right. Yeah, I agree totally with what you guys have just mentioned, because I can see the young students when they go out to the industry, their eyes will shine, very shining. Maybe it's the first time that they go into any company. Okay, so my follow-up question is, what will be the factor that you believe will be critical for the success of this project? Is there any critical factors that on top of your mind?
Very tough question. So
I hope it is a tough question for tough people.
Yeah, honestly, for myself, I think the sustainability of the program is definitely really challenged because of without commitment from the company and also the industry partnership with the college and also the government agency. I think the program sustainability is really challenged. So we need to make sure that everyone support and then they see the real benefit of the program so that the program can continue. And then where I think with this program, I believe the benefit will be huge. So we should provide all the benefit to have everyone understand it in depth so that they feel value of the program so that they can support and sustain this program. I think this is really a challenge.
Yes. Thank you, Arun.
Yeah, if I may add to it, if I want to quote the term just now KK mentioned, I really like it, is the word dream. Do we really share the same dream, not just from the industrial partner, but together with and the university? Is every partners or every stakeholder in the value chain, we need to share the same dream. We need to buy into the vision where we want to head to. With that, then all this effort will be paid off. Including people will get more motivated to be more proactive and continue to improve the journey. I think that is one thing that we really have to share the same vision. We need to have a common dream about that.
And that comes to my answer. It's like share the common dream with your industry partner or your partner, you're just like partners. So for me, I think create a meaningful business and education partnership is the key successful factors. So because like you can really form this partnership so you can have the same dream. Once you have the same dream, then you can make it sustainable, right? Because education is not just for 1 semester, 2 semesters. It's like 5 years or even longer. So definitely like Stanley said, dream, and everyone said sustainability, how to really make this model can run and can be managed and can really achieve the goal we all set together, like bring the student to career and good new collar jobs and self-fulfillment.
I would like to add one point. I think one of the key critical success factor is that I think this program is very different from the traditional school subjects because the industry is changing so fast. So our role is not to teach, because the things that we teach will be obsolete in a few years' time. So our role is more is not to teach. We are more to lead, to guide, and to inspire. So nowadays we don't lack answers because Google is always the best teacher. Okay, so if you have a question, you will have an answer. Okay, if you have good questions, you will have good answers. So our role is to inspire them to ask better questions, not only now but also during their career journey. So in the future, they will always ask questions, ask good questions, then they will have good answers.
Right. I agree totally. So may I add to this? I'm also curious because I've been hearing a lot of industry partners saying that the most important thing perhaps is not the skills or things that they know, because like KK has just mentioned, they can actually Google it. So can you all tell us some important soft skill on top of your mind now when you want to hire somebody? So what is the most important soft skill that you want you know, that student to have or to show?
Maybe from my side, as in the banking industry, ultimately we are serving the society. Our clients are people. So to have a good communication skills, we need to understand what our stakeholder, including clients, our colleagues, they really want. So it is focusing, and with clear communication, we have to ensure that people communication is in the top agenda. And of course, solving problem, we're here to help solve the problem of our clients. So definitely a clear logic, how to tackle a problem in a logical way is what, like KK mentioned, is how you address something. It's not about purely your skill set or how you ask question to drive into a solution. So yeah, work with others, come up with
I agree with Stanley. Communication skills and problem solving skills are very important skills.
Right.
Yeah. And apart from that, I always look for the people who are cheerful, because I think advertising industry is a very high pressure industry. So you have to be a cheerful person to cope with the pressure, and also to make the working environment happy, make everyone happy.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa, you have any top of mind skill, soft skill that you want to see students have?
I have a long, because I'm from the IT industry, and everybody knows like emerging technology is changing so rapidly. So like even a senior person like me, you have to keep like learning every day, and you're willing to be open-minded to learn new things. So I think curiosity, especially for young people, how do you have this like curiosity? So you are willing to explore, you're willing to learn, and you are willing to try something different, even the challenging, very challenging ones. For senior people like me, I think it's like reverse mentoring. So sharing one very good news, just last Friday, we welcome our second cohort PTA interns. So I actually have IBM colleagues with who is only 16 years old.
Wow.
So that is just really amazing. They know so many things which I don't know. Actually, one of my interns just helped me with this like Zoom meeting setup. So for young people, curiosity. For senior people, also curiosity.
Right.
It's a very good way like reverse mentoring. We can learn and teach and help each other.
Yep, I agree totally. Arun, do you have any top of mind soft skill that you want to see students have?
I have a bunch of lists also, but
Okay.
the top of my is problem solving, definitely,
Right.
because of dealing with the manufacturing process every day. So you see new problem every day, honestly.
Right.
Then in order to solve that fast in the logical way, just like Stanley said, I think that is the right concept that I would love to have everyone that has this right concept step into my manufacturing process, because of this is going to help us improving not only solving the problem, but also defining what is the real problem, what is the root cause of that problem, so that we can solve from the root. And then right after, this is the first one. The second one is the decision making. So in order to do some of the job, so you have to make your own decision based on the information that you have on hand. And if you have the skill to solve the problem, so for sure you have the logic to think this is right or wrong, so that you can make the right decision based on information that you have. Because of, as you may know, that the technology and the manufacturing life is really change really fast. So in order to catch up those, you need to make decision based on what you have now, instead of waiting for another week, another month. So that cannot be happen in the manufacturing way.
Right, I see. Thank you very much for all your comments. I'm certainly will include all the top of mind skill sets in our curriculum. So at this point of time, let's open the floor to the audience and see if they have any questions that I want to exchange views with you. Okay, so let me see. Okay, we have a question from Professor Kara Chen. She is actually in Europe now. She asked, how do you recruit mentors from your organizations? Do you think the same mentor should be with the students for an extended period of time? So questions about mentor.
How do we recruit our mentor? The first part.
Internally, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think ultimately is we have to understand whether they're the right mentor or not. As mentioned many times already, the pathway is a long-term sustainable flow. So we cannot really say that we assign someone, and after one exercise, then he's out of the picture. We can't have this mindset. That's why I see that to get a mentor, we need to ensure that he or she is committed and willing to learn, because along the process, it will be very challenging. He or she needs to have a very strong communication skills so that they can talk to the student. And the most important thing I see we need to have is, as what Lisa mentioned, have the mindset of reverse monitoring. You need to get ready to learn something as well. And most important thing, make it a happy journey. You really enjoy it, as what Kiki mentioned. Happy life.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
so what about
regarding the time frame, I think long-term mentorship is better than 1 year or even shorter mentorship, because I think people development is a long-term investment. So the longer that the mentor with the mentee to build the relationship, and then the mentorship result should be better.
I see. So what about others? How do you recruit your mentor internally, and do you prefer extended periods of time, or do you prefer like changing mentors during the 2-year studies, let's say?
For IBM, I'm actually very lucky because we do have this like corporate culture for volunteerism. So our PTEC students are lucky too, because we have more mentors than students. So one student can probably have 2 mentors. So they can have like a mentor for their technical skills and a mentor for just like career advice. But I agree, and I think Stanley just mentioned a very good point. This is a happy journey for both. So students are learning something, and for mentors, because this is a long-term commitment. You need to have this commitment, you need to have this passion along the way. So how to really keep like both sides motivated and committed, and they are joining hands for this whole journey. Yes, that is important. That is critical.
I agree. So what about Mr. Arun? Do you have any ideas about how do your internal recruiting mentor?
Yeah, actually for Seagate, we didn't do the official mentor. So we only provide the mentorship program during the internship. So when the student come into the factory and then they spend the time just like 3 to 6 months with us, so we offer them the mentorship during that program. And the way that we recruit the mentor is we're trying to seek for the person that has experience to pair with each of the students, so that they feel comfortable to work with those. And then those experienced person also come from volunteer. So
right. Thank you for your answers. Let me see if there's any more questions from the floor. Okay, so we have no more questions from the floor. So do you want to add more points on this participation as industry partners for this pathway?
Well, regarding the mentorship, I have one more point to add.
Okay.
I mentioned in one of the meetings with the CLAPTEC team that I think it's better to match the personal attributes of the mentee and mentors. For example, if a mentee is an ADHD,
Right.
Well, we could partner him or her with an ADHD mentor, which we have a lot in our industry.
That's great.
So I think for the SEN students, the students who have special education need, they face a lot of difficulties and frustrations in school. We better show them that they could have great achievement by giving them some really good role models. So by matching the attributes of the mentor and mentee, I think we can set up that really great role models for them.
So other panelists, do you want to add anything to the audience?
I would say that is along the maybe it's because of the situation right now, especially in Hong Kong, that we come face to face. I still feel that is when chances is allowed, have more frequent face-to-face interaction, that really helps in building trust as well as make the whole process more seamless.
Agree. Also add on to Stanley's one, because of the COVID, otherwise we would have an event in other places like in Taiwan or in Thailand. Okay, so we could meet face to face. Yeah. Okay, so if there's no more questions and points, I think we can close this panel. So thank you very much again for all of your participation in this panel discussion. Thank you, and we hope to see you all in the future face to face. Thank you, and we'll pass the time to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fung, and our industry partners for a very enlightening discussion. On behalf of HKBU and the secondary school partners, I would like to express our deepest gratitude for your support and commitment to the CLAPTech pathway, and for allowing students to learn from you and your fellow colleagues as mentors. Our last event of the day will be a 10-minute virtual mingling session. Each of you will be randomly assigned to a virtual breakout room with up to 5 people. If you haven't already, please change your display name to the following format: name, location, organization, for everyone's easy identification. We also encourage you to turn your cameras and microphones on for the best mingling experience. Once you enter your breakout room, we would love for you to introduce yourselves and then either share a key takeaway from today's event or a takeaway from your personal CLAPTech or P-Tech experience thus far. The symposium will end after the mingling section, meaning you do not need to rejoin the main meeting. One final note before the event ends: you will later receive a survey about the symposium. We would appreciate it if you would take a few minutes to fill in that form, as we greatly appreciate your feedback. You will now receive a link to your breakout rooms via Zoom's chat function. Once you click that link, you will enter that assigned room. Please remain connected to the meeting while you wait. Thanks again for your time, and I hope you a great day ahead.